There we go.
This is Moor. I hope y'all ready to dance. I got my dancing shoes ready tonight. It's about to get crazy. But before we even jump in, I think we need to let Michelle Gibson speak to y'all a little bit about unwinding the confusions that are tied to what people are calling the Wild Wild West shows and all that. All of this comes from modern sense, the midway places in the Chicago exposition. But I'm going to let Michelle put y'all D with the history of expositions to begin with. There's not only one World Fair, there's a lot, and she's going to tell you, a little bit of things y'all might not have known about them. So, Islam more.
Islam, Moors, peace and love. I'm Menelik Brown. I'm Menelik Abraham Brown L. And we're gonna break it down to y'all today. So I'm just gonna sit back and we're gonna play this video. Islam, Moors.
Um,
You gonna play it, Nova?
yeah, hold on, let me share my screen.
All right.
Full screen it.
I'm going to be focusing on subjects in this series that needed dedicated videos based on noteworthy information that I found in my research. One of these subjects is exhibitions, expositions, and world fairs since 1851. My name is Michelle Gibson. The Great Exhibition of the Works of Industry of All Nations of 1851 in London was the first in a series of World's Fairs, exhibitions of culture and industry that became popular in the 19th century. What does that eight-pointed star represent in the brochure for it and the designs on the sides? Here are details from the Mabel Tainter Memorial Theater, a theater of Moorish appearance in Menominee, Wisconsin, on the right, compared with the brochure details on the left. Interesting to note that King Kalakaua of Hawaii on the left has two eight-pointed stars pinned to his jacket in his portrait, and in this portrait of Prince Regent George on the right, his sash is covering a star with at least 3 points. I believe these were symbols and design elements important to the original ancient advanced Moorish civilization. I think there was a hostile takeover of the planet after a deliberately caused cataclysm that resulted in a worldwide flood of mud, which wiped out the original civilization. There was an almost 2-year period of extremely cold, enduring weather in Ireland between 1740 and 1741. The cause is not known, and this information is in the historical record, but is not common knowledge. Hundreds of thousands of people in Ireland died in the cold snap, about 1/5 of the population at the time. To this day, it is the longest period of extreme cold in modern European history, and it led to food riots, famine, epidemics, and death. What if the explanation involves a disruption in the fabric of space-time? What if it took the beings involved in the cataclysm and takeover around 100 years to dig the original infrastructure out of the mud flow? What if the timeline we have been taught about in school actually starts in the mid-1800s with a new false historical narrative superimposed onto this infrastructure, one which brought cruelty, great suffering, degradation, and division to humanity? What if the original order of society was turned upside down and we have been the subjects of a vast human and social engineering project, not for our best interest, but that of other beings? What if these exhibitions, expositions, and world fairs, starting in 1851, were showcasing the technology and architectural wonders of the original civilization before being hidden away or forever destroyed? The purpose of the first great exhibition in 1851 was said to be making clear to the world Britain's role as industrial leader, while at the same time it provided a platform on which other countries from around the world could display their achievements. It was organized by Sir Henry Cole, a British civil servant and inventor, and Prince Albert, husband of Queen Victoria. We are told that it took only 9 months to develop it from plans and organization to the grand opening with Queen Victoria. It was also referred to as the Crystal Palace exhibition in reference to what was called a temporary structure in which it was held. Let's take a closer look at this so-called temporary structure. Also known as the Great Shalimar, a reference to the Mughal Garden Complex in Lahore, Pakistan, where you see the 8-pointed star and similar design patterns that I just showed you on the Great Exhibition brochure in Wisconsin and on Royalty. The Shalimar Gardens are located at the Lahore Fort. The Crystal Palace was said to have been designed by Sir Joseph Paxton, a gardener and greenhouse builder, and built in Hyde Park to house the exhibition. Sir Joseph was said to have been commissioned by Baron Mayer Rothschild in 1850 to design the Moor Towers in Buckinghamshire, said to be one of the greatest country houses built during the Victorian era. The Crystal Palace was described as a massive glass house that was 1,848 feet, or 563 meters long, by 454 feet, or 138 meters wide, and constructed from cast iron frame components and glass. There were statues on the inside and trees, said to demonstrate man's triumph over nature. Between May 1st and October 15th of 1851, 6 million people were said to visit the exhibition, including famous people of the time like Charles Darwin, Samuel Colt, Charlotte Bronte, Charles Dickens, and Alfred Lord Tennyson. The proceeds generated by the Great Exhibition of 1851 were then said to be used to found the Victoria and Albert Museum in 1852, which happens to look very similar to the Natural History Museum in Milan, Italy, which was said to have been founded in 1838. Proceeds from the Great Exhibition were also used to found the Science Museum in 1857 and the Natural History Museum in London in 1881. What was the fate of the Crystal Palace itself? Well, we are told the Crystal Palace was moved and re-erected in 1854 to Sydenham Hill in South London and was later destroyed by fire in 1936. How did they manage to move a massive building of plate glass and cast iron, said to be 3 times larger than St. Paul's Cathedral in London? Between 1853 and 1854, the exhibition of the Industry of All Nations was held in New York in Bryant Park in Manhattan, in the wake of what was considered the highly successful Great Exhibition in London. It aimed to showcase the new industrial achievements of the world and to demonstrate the nationalistic pride of a relatively young nation. The exhibition committee was led by Jacob Westervelt, New York City mayor, considered to be a renowned and prolific shipbuilder, and Admiral Samuel DuPont, a member of the prominent DuPont family, was the general superintendent. Another Crystal Palace was built here for the exhibition. We are told it was constructed in 1853 and designed by German architect Karl Gildemeister and Danish Army officer George Carstensen, and said to have been inspired by the Crystal Palace in London. The American poet Walt Whitman penned this poem about it, called The Song of the Exposition. A palace, loftier, fairer, ampler than any yet, earth's modern wonder, history's 7 outstripping, high-rising, tier on tier, with glass and iron facades, gladdening the sun and sky, imbued in the cheerfulest hues, bronze, lilac, robin's egg, marine, and crimson, over whose golden roof shall flaunt, beneath thy banner, freedom. Alas, this beautiful Crystal Palace was also destroyed by fire, but much sooner than what we are told for the one in London. It burned down in 1858, apparently with a large audience, according to this engraving. It looks like the fire brigade is being blocked by all the people watching it burn. Paris hosted the Universal Exposition of the Industry of All the Nations on the Champs-Élysées from May 15th to November 15th in 1855, newly under the reign of Napoleon III. His cousin, Prince Napoleon, was the president of the exposition. Paris attempted to surpass London's Crystal Palace with its own Palais de l'Industrie, said to have been constructed for the industrial component of the exposition in 1855. This Palais de l'Industrie itself was said to have been destroyed in 1897 to make way for the Grand Palais of the 1900 World's Fair in Paris. There was also the Palais de Beaux-Arts to house the first fine arts display for a world exposition, pictured here. There was another building which displayed the crown jewels of France, and another that held machinery and raw materials. The only building said to still remain standing from the 1855 exposition is the Théâtre du Rond-Point, the location of the National Panorama. And unlike the British, who were said to have had such a surplus of funds that they could fund the opening of 3 museums, the French were said to have lost a great deal of money on the 1855 exposition. The location of the 1876 Centennial Exposition, the first official World's Fair in the United States, was Fairmount Park in Philadelphia. It was held to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The Director General of the exposition, Ohio businessman Alfred Goshern, was said to have been knighted by Queen Victoria because of the success of the Centennial Exposition. Hermann Schwarzmann, a German architect, was given the credit for designing all of the buildings for the Centennial Exposition starting in 1869. This is the Memorial Hall in Fairmount Park, said to have been built as the art gallery for the 1876 Centennial Expo, and the only major structure from that exposition to survive to the present day. It is currently called the Please Touch Museum, which focuses on teaching mostly children 7 years old and younger through interactive exhibits and special events. This was inside the original horticultural hall, no longer standing, that was said to be designed for the 1876 exposition in the Mooresque style of the 12th century, and looks a lot on the outside on the top like some Oklahoma high schools to me, like this historic photo of the original Central High School in Tulsa on the bottom.
Oh, man.
The largest Corliss steam engine ever built, with its 1,400 horsepower engine, was on display in and generated all the energy used in Machinery Hall during the 1876 exposition. The Corliss steam engine was said to have been invented by George Henry Corliss and patented in 1849. It is a steam engine fitted with rotary valves and variable valve timing, and generally 30% more fuel efficient than conventional steam engines. This is the front view of the steam engine at the exposition. The side view, and the top view. Now, for comparison, check out what is found at what is called an old sugar mill in Belize in Central America.
Hey,
From the looks of this tree growth, very old. The Southern Exposition was a 5-year series of world fairs held in Louisville, Kentucky between 1883 and 1887 in what is now called the Old Louisville neighborhood. The exposition was held for 100 days each of those years in a location immediately south of Louisville's Central Park, which was originally a country estate of the DuPont family, on what was called heavily forested hunting grounds. We are told the main exposition building was meant to be a temporary space. When 1 million visitors came to the expo in its first year in 1883, the Southern Exposition was expanded to run between August and November until 1887. This was the scene at the opening ceremonies where President Chester A. Arthur spoke in 1883. The Southern Exposition was the largest installation of incandescent light bulbs since their invention, we are told, by Thomas A. Edison between 1878 and 1880, allowing for nighttime visitation. In 1890, the Southern Exposition site was turned into the St. James and Belgravia courts, now a historic housing district. and an auditorium was said to have been built with the materials salvaged from the main exposition building. The auditorium was said to be part of a large entertainment complex that included a bike riding park, man-made lagoon, promenade, and a 10,000-seat outdoor amphitheater. The amphitheater auditorium was said to have been razed to the ground in 1905, only 16 years after its completion. The 1884 World's Fair was held in New Orleans and was called the World's Industrial and Cotton Centennial Exposition. The main building enclosed 33 acres, or 13 hectares, and was said to be the largest roofed structure constructed up to that time. This was the Horticultural Hall of the 1884 Exposition and the octagonal building of the Mexico exhibit. The octagonal building of the Mexican exhibit is said to be the Moorish kiosk, which is found in Mexico City. The person who gets the credit for it was a Mexican engineer named Jose Ramon Ibarroa. He is said to have designed it to represent Mexico for the New Orleans Centennial Expo. We are also told that this structure was at the St. Louis, Missouri Fair in 1904 as well. Does this look like a portable structure to you? And there are design patterns of 8-pointed stars in the Moorish kiosk, and what I will call figure eights for this example. It is the same idea as what I shared with you earlier in this video. The location of the 1884 New Orleans Exposition is now Audubon Park. This is said to be a chunk of iron ore from the Alabama exhibit on the Audubon golf course at the park. And the Audubon Zoo. In 1888, Cincinnati, Ohio was the location of the Centennial Exposition of the Ohio Valley and Central States, also known as the World's Fair of Cincinnati, and the 100th anniversary of Cincinnati's founding. The Machinery Hall was situated across the Miami and the Erie Canals and was said to have been transformed into a Venetian delight with imported gondolas and gondoliers from Venice and daily races and rides. What if the gondolas and gondoliers weren't actually imported from Venice, but instead were already here? This is outside of the Machinery Hall on the left and has the look of a staged photo, very much like this one in Trenton, New Jersey, on the right. The Music Hall was said to have been built in 1877 at the cost of $1 million for use in previous industrial expositions in Cincinnati, as well as the hall facility. This was a bridge associated with the Music Hall. Where is everybody? The main building was in Washington Park. Washington Park Hall boasted of one of the largest fountains constructed in the country, 89 feet or 27 meters long and 68 feet or 21 meters wide, with a jet that rose 65 feet or 20 meters in the air. Nicknamed the Fairy Fountain, when the gallery played Strauss waltzes, the fountain illuminated in time with the music. There are many more examples along the same lines to which I will give you just a simple introduction. The Colonial and Indian Exhibition in London in 1886, the Piedmont Exposition in Atlanta in 1887, the Melbourne Centennial Exhibition in 1888, the Universal Exposition in Paris in 1889, the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago in 1893, the California Midwinter Exposition of 1894 in San Francisco, the Central American Exposition in Guatemala City, Guatemala in 1897, the International Exposition in Hobart, Tasmania in 1894 and 1895, the Cotton States and International Exposition in Atlanta in 1895, the Tennessee Centennial and International Exposition in 1897, the Trans-Mississippi and
This is
International
crazy.
Exposition in Omaha, Nebraska in 1898, the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York in 1901,
What? What?
What?
the Glasgow International Exposition in 1901, the South Carolina Interstate and West Indian
Oh, man.
Exposition in Charleston in 1901 and
West
1902,
Indian and Charleston.
the Wolverhampton Exhibition in 1902 in Wolverhampton, England,
Oh my God,
the
really?
Hanoi Exhibition in Vietnam in 1902 and
See, the more
1903,
determined.
Hmm.
the Louisiana Purchase Exhibition in St. Louis, Missouri in 1904,
Louisiana Purchase
the
Expedition.
Art Exhibition in
Yo.
Portland, Oregon in 1905, the Jamestown
Hey,
Exposition
yo.
in Norfolk, Virginia in
What?
1907,
Mm.
the Alaska Yukon Pacific
What?
Exposition in Seattle in
It's like the White House type
1909,
stuff.
Hmm.
the Panama Pacific International
Damn.
Exposition in San Francisco in 1915, the Panama California Exposition in San
Panama,
Diego in
California.
1915 and 1916,
Come on now.
the Sesquicentennial International Exposition in Philadelphia in 1926,
Jeez.
the Chicago World's Fair in 1933 and 1934,
We're gonna jump into
the
that.
California Pacific International Exposition in San Diego in
Alcazar,
1935
that's
and
Moorish.
1936,
Hmm. All of
the
that's
Great
more.
Exposition
Yeah,
in
it's like
Cleveland
all
in
of America.
1936 and 1937,
Hmm.
the Texas Centennial International
What is
Exposition
this,
in
bro?
Dallas in 1936 and 1937, the Golden Gate International Exposition in San
Golden
Francisco
Gate.
in 1939 and
Damn.
1940, and the New York
Oh,
World's Fair in
wow.
1939 and 1940.
What?
There
Mm.
were other world fairs and expositions held around the world after this, but I want to focus on the earlier ones for the purposes of this video and the point I want to make. Does any of this sound feasible or even plausible? I think it makes much more sense to view it from the
Oh,
perspective
wow.
that
That
humanity
was
was on a
like
much more
Philly.
advanced timeline than we have been taught. Most of the beautiful legacy of the human race has been destroyed, and we
Mm.
have been kept in the dark about it.
Mm,
What
mm,
wasn't destroyed were turned into government buildings like the Baltimore City Hall,
Hey, that joint crazy.
schools
Look at
like
this.
El Paso
Look
High
at
School,
there.
Come on, bro.
and museums like the Museum of Art in Central Park, and the list of repurposed buildings goes on and on.
Oh,
We
Mm.
don't question how this monumental architecture could have possibly come into existence in the historical narrative we have been given. In the next video, I will be focusing on monuments and memorials.
Mm.
okay. Hold up. Wait. Wait. So y'all mean to tell me that? Wait. Stop. We're not gonna go into more. She just killed it.
Hmm. Made
Y'all
our whole point.
mean to tell me that basically the whole. So y'all want us to believe that all those expositions was about circuses? All of that. And you see how she's breaking it down, and these expositions is really the cover up of the switcheroo, basically.
Right.
How we ran the world, but then through these expositions, and the outcome of it, Europeans were the new rulers, or were after these things.
Yeah, because they walked right into the buildings. They walked right into the positions. After the coup of the government, that's when they started reconstructing history after the wars and all this, that, and after the wars, what I mean? And, history, that's when the Rockefellers come in and, Brown versus Board of Education. And then you have, everything, switch around, switcheroo, you know, just like that. Because when we think about the whole situation, that once people get this, everything started right here in this um, part of the continent first, and then they spread it out other places. You see what I'm saying? So most of all government was ran right over here, and then once we fell, or lost who we were apparently, what I mean, and certain things like that. They took over the government. They reissued, what I mean, the Constitution to their standard, what I mean, for adoption. And they went into their own business and affairs. But they're supposed to be upholding the Constitution, but within that prevalence, they wasn't really upholding it. They was upholding it to their standard, you know. So that's why when these Moors, which are we know they're Masons, right?
Yep.
Because the whole situation, as far as with the prophet and his murder, um, as far as what these people has been doing, because when you look at the indoctrination, it's heavy, and what had conspired to ruling and running government is that you need to know what's really going on in world history and affairs, but at the same time, you don't really want to reveal that secret to the nation you really subjugated and ruling over, because the whole preface is just about them ruling over our spoils, what I mean, from when we was fighting each other, infighting and trying to give people, the enslaved people, bringing them into, governance, and letting them be who they supposed to be, autonomously, what I mean, because that's when the Constitution was made up for, all men are created equal, and, have certain rights, bestowed to them and their creator. So, Moores was trying to clean up a lot of things, but there was a lot of things going on, a lot of traitor, traitorous action things that was going on. A lot of business was being, negotiated and transmitted, and a lot, just like today, as far as the treasonous actions against our own people, it's just ridiculous how we are being mistreated and then overlooked because we have certain people that's running this nation, and they keep putting us in a fetal position because they already know that we ran the world, and you know we were the ones who educated and brought the marvelous light. But we fell from that light because we didn't know how to you know stop being greedy, and a lot of more stop living love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. They started being greedy and doing other things and declaring certain things and using religions and stuff like that for prosper, to prosper themselves instead of giving them the marvelous light. Because when Morris was running the world at one particular point in time, that's all was going on. You were being taught, you were being, really, you were getting studied and being very educated into the sciences and stuff like that. Because for a nation to grow and for them to have anything to run and be successful, you have to be knowledgeable. So we were um, that nation to put out that information as far as being knowledgeable, as far as being Moors that control certain areas, certain provinces, and certain jurisdictions. We did a lot of trade within our jurisdictions, and we got wealthy. Um, that's why in history we were talked about because we cultivate a lot of science. We cultivate science and build beautiful structures and agriculture and stuff like that. So you know things in that nature more. But we want to go ahead and get down to business and get to the facts. So Kasir, you can go ahead and take over if you want to now, more.
Islam more.
Islam.
Remember when the daughter, the noble daughter, Michelle Gibson, talked about the 1933 explosion or exposition in Chicago?
Yeah, yeah.
What
Um,
do we have here? Talking about. Chicago's Forgotten World History, the American Negro Exposition of 1940.
Yeah, that's when things were going real. That's when the nation was going into a lot of things that we controlled, what I mean, as far as like the numbers and stuff like that, playing numbers and um certain aspects like the lotto, for instance. Everybody like to go play the lotto now, right?
Yeah,
Well, that lotto was really ran by Moors, what I mean, before it was big. Like we was in control of numbers and stuff like that. And then we have to understand too, like we had a lot of immigrants coming to this land, and they were really hungry, destitute, and they had to learn how to fend for themselves and really take care of themselves. So that's one, if you go and look into history on gangs of New York, as far as the police and um the Italians, and they was at war with each other to gain certain run certain things in their community, because at one particular point in time, Moors didn't live in the projects and lived in the ghettos and stuff like that. They did. So once you start doing the research and start understanding that black, as far as what Moors kept saying is that means pale, then you'll get the switch, and why it's so significant to this day that our peoples need to be portrayed as black people, Negroes, colored, and stuff like that, because really they just stripping you out of your birthrights, your nationality. So once we get into this masonry, right, and we look at certain things and that they know about the significance of being an mason, as far as um the basic stuff, as far as what Morris talk about being black. Um and we know we're not that, but obviously a lot of our people thinks that we are and subscribe to that, when in, when in actuality, that's not what we are. We
she
are
called
human beings.
she called the exposition. She called it like she called them cover ups.
Everything is a cover up.
So what's
You
being
know,
covered up if they're doing these expositions now? If more is look at the screen, uh, the 1933 World Fair, like how Michelle Gibson was talking about, it says there was an interest in the exhibition noting the accomplishments of the African Americans at the 1933 century of Progress World's Fair, but
hmm
the plans never materialized. An exhibition known as the African and American Negro Exposition did come together, but it was held 2 miles from the fairgrounds in the Pythian Temple at
Pythian,
3333 South State Street. Remember
Pythian,
that, Morris. Remember
hmm
that Pythian stuff. Remember that.
Pythian
In,
temple now.
in the heart of Chicago's Brownsville community, Bronzeville.
hmm
Um, the site of the Negro Exposition was significant, as the temple was designed in 1927 by African American architect Walter Thomas Bailey. Now, you know what? That name is
Walter Thomas
kind of,
Daly.
yeah, ain't that name sort of funny with all the subjugation, the Walter stuff going on and the Thomas stuff, and this guy's named
Yeah,
Walter Thomas.
yeah.
and, and
That's
he's the
yeah.
architect of this building we looking at.
Right, right.
A castle. And then we have this right here, this temple that was he was the architect of, planning for the Black World's Fair and planning for the much larger fair beginning in December 1934. That date is special, 1934, because that's when the Senate, Oscar the Priest was he was getting out. They voted him out.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. So This is the building, the National Piscean Temple. This this designer called Walter Thomas Bailey also designed this masterpiece. And they don't ever talk about the Negro fairs. Negroes display achievement in the First World Fair.
Mm.
Great exposition opens at Coliseum and is shaking hands with the Europeans and all this stuff. Wonder if it's a Masonic grip. Who knows?
It's a Masonic grip, probably.
Hmm. So, you know, just the Negro exposition that nobody ever talks about or knows about, where they even had I'm trying to find, oh yeah, this cabin supposedly they built, supposedly recognizing DuSable.
Which is another Masonic lodge, which is a cabin.
Now, this is the part that I kind of wanted to get to. Miss Bronze America gets her reward. To the victor goes the spoils, so we have Miss Miriam Ali.
Ali. Miss Miriam Ali?
She is. So his mother is named Ali for some odd reason. Yeah, that's just whatever about that, right?
Yeah.
So let's get into some of the deeper details about this whole what I would call a pageantry, right? Because everybody's worried about the circus part of the Chicago Exposition, the Columbian, 1893, because the whole Princess and the Prophet book and the story of the Thomas Walter and all the stuff and how that was tied to the circus. So we're going to get into the whole history of where that even comes from. Watch how this works. Not everyone is aware of the mummer tradition of Philadelphia. Whoa. Okay, so the mummers tradition of Philadelphia had a significant influence on the celebration of Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Even before Columbus hit the streets of Crescent City in 1857, there was many murmurs of mummers and their activities. So, don't you remember the Master P?
Yep. The Mardi Gras?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then remember she said the Louisiana Purchase now, where the Michelle Gibson, she said about the Louisiana Purchase, where the building was standing at, which was a convention.
Yep. Yeah, another one there.
So if it was a convention, then what if it's a convention, right? And we know Moors like to get language absolutely correct. So let's look up convention right quick. And let's get the etymology on convention. Okay.
Oh, so now watch
Etymology
this.
on convention. Okay, Old French, late Middle English, convention. Okay, since 3 via Old French from Latin conventionally, meaning convent, from the verb convere. See convene, convention, since one dates from this late 18th century. So it's a covenant.
And the whole point of, like, you see how like they say all this stuff about Moors being a circus, but nobody's saying anything about Master P's Indian family doing their or Master P being connected to the Indians in New Orleans who do their Mardi Gras parade. They don't call that the circus.
Right.
Well, why? I mean, if you're going to call the Moors a circus for doing it, then why don't you recognize the wild Indian mummer named John Kelly?
Right.
Why not? They struck a man over the head with a huge stick for which he was arrested. Whatever.
Right.
So you're not going to look at that. You're just going to say, "Oh, the Moors and everybody they were because you're studying the Europeans' book." Let's go into the history of this pageantry. Go back. Oh, so we got from the Middle French "momer" for masker. From the Old French "momour," from from
Mm,
Momer, to go mad.
Mer. Mm,
The term mummer has ancient origins. These traditions date back early Egypt, pagan Rome and Greece. Pagan just means dark skin. Let's just do
mm,
that.
yeah.
Dark skin Rome, dark skin Greece, and later medieval Europe. So that's the Moorish, was it Black or Moor Europe, right?
Yeah. Our
In
cousins.
medieval England, Albion, troops of
Hmm.
costume performers roamed from house to house presenting mummers, play, and folk drama at Christmas time. Hmm.
That's where they get Santa Claus, Saint Nick from.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not Saint Nick, but a little
Nick.
bit afterwards. You got
Right.
mummery. Philadelphia mummery began in the late 1600s as a continuation of the old world customs of ushering in the new year.
Right.
Don't you see the Voodoo culture? They dress up as animals when they're doing their well, not animals, but the deities would be, they dress up in these costumes, like, and they do the
Hmm.
ritual of like bringing through the deity. So they're not calling that circus? You're not calling the voodoo circus.
Hmm.
This is what our ancestors used to do. You're not recognizing? The Swedes
Hmm.
were the first, Philadelphia's first settlers, the ones to settle in Philly. Okay, and the settlers started there as early as 1690, 39.
Right.
You ever heard of Swedensboro?
Yep.
That's
With
that's where, yeah, that's their stuff. Swedesboro,
Sweden
Swedesville, and
Borough.
all that. So just showing you. Look at the pictures of what they're dressing up, and some. What is this? Is this it's
Look,
supposed to be clean. And
look.
then they got these people dressed up in these animal heads, like Egypt, right?
Right. Egypt, just like Egypt
Hmm.
on the walls.
So they're worried about it being circus stuff because they're reading this guy's book. Nobody's tying in what's really going on here.
Hmm.
The cover-ups.
Because that's all it is. It's a Masonic regalia.
Monster badge. Look at this. They still do this today, bro. These
Yeah.
Europeans. Hold on. Let's look at it more. Let's look at it. Let's look at this part of it because they say it around Christmas, right?
Hmm. So that's festivities, and they celebrate, and really our fall and the wars that took took on between us. You know what I mean? Because it was only two powers then. It was the Christian Empire of Rome, and then it was the Moorish Islamic Empire um, of Islam. So you know, wars went on, and
Bro,
certain treaties was made. You know,
you know Santa Claus though, right?
yeah,
Because they talking about Santa Claus, right?
yeah.
His name is Santa Claus.
Center, yeah, they how like they take things and make things how they want to make them, but they are using it for their own, you know, how can you say making money and kind of certain people to buy certain things because most holidays have a significance to them. But you can
And
but you,
instead of because they subjugate the story with Santa Claus and 12 deers supposed to be the 12 constellation, all that stuff, and Rudolph the sun with the nose, whatever. And it could also mean the 12 cranial nerves and Rudolph's nose, the pineal gland. We get all that for all day. We could do that, but
mm-hmm,
we look at this guy, Santa Claus. It says right here, he rides a white horse
right,
like death. Behold the
mm-hmm.
pale white horse.
Pale
Okay.
horse, yeah,
And in the Netherlands, the last horse was called Amerigo,
mm.
like Amerigo Vespucci.
Fiji, yeah,
The guy who they claim
that's discovered
named
America.
himself after America or discovered America and named it at that. Okay, so
Yeah,
y'all
which
talking about America and this Amerigo, he riding. What are y'all trying to signify in this? Because right under that we see Zwarte Piet.
Zwati Pete. That's the more.
Hey, Black Pete. Yeah, okay, there you go. Here you go, the
Mm-hmm.
blackface, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ain't this Mummers Parade stuff? This Mummery, right?
Mm-hmm.
A helper dressed in Moorish attire and in blackface.
Yep.
Boom. Okay.
Boom. There you go. There you
So
go.
if we could tie this back to their ancient 1600s and all that stuff, and look, Santa Claus between uh Saint Nicholas, oh that's the saint, and then they talk about how they made this guy up. But if we could tie this back to their the Europeans' cultures of dressing up and parading, then we can't tie Moors into it when they brought this here. We the guy, what's his name? Pony Bill. We can't make it like that's the origin of Moors. If you see this is happening all over the world. People dressing up like Moors, Europeans,
Right.
everybody parading
Everybody.
around.
Mm-hmm.
And if we tie in with Michelle Gibson, this is all the cover up of the ancient people that used to rule the world.
Yep. Because you got to think about it. She said in there, the Charles
I mean, there's
Darwin,
like,
didn't
well, my
she?
Santa Claus got a post hat.
Yeah. Did she say Charles Darwin in there? So
Mm-hmm.
if she named Charles Darwin, then we know Albert Pike is right behind him. You see what I'm saying? With the all Masons. See what I'm saying? With their hand inside this shirt type
Damn.
joint.
Oh,
Okay. So that's right there. They're letting you know. She's letting you know right there just from the order of secrecy. You know what I mean? And what was going on and all the convenient things that what they were doing as far as, learning government and establishing certain things and flooding the gates over here with Europeans because we have to understand like a whole lot of settlers was flooded over here. You know what I mean? Europeans was brought over here in 1800s too. You know what I mean? So
so Santa Claus elves is really the Moors.
yeah.
Swart feet. Okay, so these people playing these games,
Hmm.
and let's look at something else of what happened. Another alteration of Swarty Pete. Oh yes,
Yeah, there you
oh
go.
Krampus.
There you
Krampus.
go.
This is what they view the Moors as also.
Hmm.
Dark side. See how he ripping
Hmm.
the damn European ears and looking at. This is supposed to be the Punisher, because if you naughty, they send Krampus to get you. And look, these
Right.
people worship this stuff. Y'all don't know everything is a so-called pageantry.
Right.
Get to it. This is what's going on around the world. According to German folklore, hold up, let's go back. Fast words. Get that out of there. According to Germanic
Folklore.
folklore, Saint,
Germanic.
yeah, Saint
Hmm.
Nick's sinister counterpart is Krampus.
Yeah.
So now we're dealing with this whole energy of what they call uh, the light and dark of one entity. Like the whole
Hmm.
how they, this is Norse gods.
Yeah.
It's to
Just
be
like it goes
Norse
back to the Baphomet too, fertility. And it goes back to remember we was talking the Haitian and Moorish customs that's all tied in too. Like the goat head.
So
Baphomet.
yeah, right. The whole Baphomet thing, because they're
Yeah.
they're bastardizing the whole thing of the Moors. They're covering
Right.
up the whole
Right.
Moors aspect of giving the Knights Templar the whole Baphomet head, and which they called the Moor's head or the Turk head.
Hmm. Which
Hmm.
which is representation with the fez on top of the turkey
Right.
head.
So this is to keep Christians all stuck in church and they're scared to go to hell, and it's all devil worship and all, without knowing
Hmm.
that they all the things that you see that there's devil worship and all that sin, that comes from a place where it wasn't all that before. It's a subjugation you're looking at, and you're taking that as the real thing. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Right there,
Hmm.
that's where that thing comes in. And
Right.
then look, the Norse goddess Hel is so Santa Claus is the son of the Norse goddess Hel, who rules over the realm of the dead. So this is where y'all get y'all devil hell concept from Norse
Hmm.
mythology mixed in with Christianity. So how y'all
Right.
Christians believe in hell and the devil with some stuff if that's really Norse? Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be kind of you're mixing around different religions?
Hmm.
I don't even know what's going on. So this is them. This is the counterpart of so-called Santa Claus, and when that's not there, you get Swarthy Pete.
And
So
there
see,
he go right there.
you give the gifts out. They got pictures. They got videos of Europeans climbing up damn ladders, giving gifts to people in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's get on with the killing because that was the side note. So let's look at a little bit of we went into this before, but let's just pinpoint something here. If you see in the 1860s the Near East harems and all that, right? The harem history and all that with the
Yeah.
out of the Russians massacred all the Circassians or most of them, thousands of them, and conquered
Mm-hmm.
Circassia, right?
Right.
All in Russia and on Soviet Union, all that. But in the same 1960s, the P.T. Barnum guy, he comes up and he makes a hoax out of it, celebrated hoaxes he was celebrated for doing hoaxes. So he makes a whole hoax out of the whole thing by instituting the Circassian beauties, right?
Right.
Claiming
Mm-hmm.
Circassian beauties. So this is why we're showing you why these circuses happen. It's to subjugate something that happened of a taking the land or slaughtering of a so-called people for to institute a circus
Yeah.
like it never happened basically. Oh, it's just a circus and never happened. And look at what they do in the interim of it. They
Mm-hmm.
institute the circus there originally as Europeans, and then this whole Maltese girls thing. It shows that they they taught us to be that with the whole Black Pride movement. So now we
Right.
start wearing afros, but that's what they was wearing is to look like the women that was that was in the harem when they were doing their circus.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they're about. It's the switcheroo thing.
That's it. Trading places. And then putting us in a, like I said, in a mindset of we were that when in actuality we were not.
See, Moor's Palace, Eskimo Village, right? So now they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to look at who they got studying it. Nam Kim.
Mm-hmm. Nam Kim.
Look who they got studying it, right?
Right. And
So
look
so
and look and look who is
right,
blow the
look.
picture up. Blow
Mm-hmm.
the picture up.
I got the picture separate.
Yeah.
Uh, they put it
Look.
this thing.
Look, there you
So
go. Look.
now this
Pull it
is a
over so they
dress
can
up
see.
act.
Look
Oh,
at
hold up.
there. Look at there. Fez. Look at there. He got a fez on with feathers covering the fez. See
So
that?
they do the dress up act so called with him, right? So say
Mm-hmm.
that this is all dress up, and then they got the original Asiatic woman.
Mm-hmm.
They got the new Asiatic woman studying basically how she doesn't exist or what. Let's read and see what they're trying to do. The ethnic villages of the Chicago World's Fair of 1893 exposed Americans to different cultures, but they also promoted stereotypes, many of which are reflected in the picture book of from an era displayed in the Harvard Peabody Museum. So Harvard, we gotta go. We gotta go so we can look at their book. Okay, the
Mm-hmm.
counter of the books often condescending descriptions of the peoples who were recruited from around the world to work in the fair's midway. Attractions such as the Moorish
Morris
Palace
Palace.
and Eskimo Village.
Mm-hmm.
Curators enlisted students to do research. The
Right.
result is a digital display pairing the book's 80 full-page portraits of the Midway performers with new bios and context provided by students. So they have them studying this thing to make it more real.
Mm-hmm.
When if you're doing this thing, you're never gonna understand what Michelle Gibson was talking about because
Mm-hmm.
now you're making the falsehood real instead of understanding it's a cover up.
Right. That's the when the indoctrination comes in. That's why it's always a debate with these so-called scholars. Now they go to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and you can see Maxie what's his name? Oscar de la Prise
Mm-hmm.
sitting right there. Okay. Now you look at him, right? You look at him now. He's Moorish, right?
Look at how he look distinguished, right?
Mm-hmm.
He looks pissed off. He got beat now. Y'all don't understand how deep this get. You know him. You ever hear this more down or this more down here about a lower right hand corner?
That's
Aaron
Aaron
Payne,
Payne.
right?
Aaron Payne. He's the most biggest sellout, the biggest Mason, the biggest sellout of the prophet there is. Right there. You see him? You look at him. He don't even have a fez on his head.
You
He's
know what's
just
funny
there.
about it? Yeah, yep. But he was
He's
Aaron
just,
Payne L, right? But you don't got
yeah,
to. Now
no
watch this.
fez on.
Watch how this works. When you look up Aaron Payne, so look, type up the mafia. Just type in Aaron Payne,
Hmm.
attorney Aaron Payne. There is nothing on this guy but this. A thing it talks about his papers, inventory. It just talks Louis B. Anderson, boom. Louis B. Anderson,
Wow.
Priest, right? So it's showing
Yeah.
you that the correspondence is miscellaneous photographs. I wonder what photographs they got in there. I wonder what
Mm.
photographs they got, these miscellaneous photographs that they talking about Louis B. Anderson and Oscar the Priest and this guy, this Aaron Payne guy, right? I wonder what
Hmm.
picture they talking about. Could it be this one?
Yep. And it's probably some more pictures.
You can't find nothing. Like, why is there not a Wikipedia even on Aaron Payne, the attorney? They hid it. They hid an
Yep.
attorney. Well, let's go to RV Bay Publications to see what they got to say about the attorney.
Yeah.
It's all ties in. So look, blow this up since y'all more is so scared of the RV Bay. Let's see what was going on.
Yeah.
Memorandum to RB Bay Publications from Sidi Salim Azim Bey Effendi for publication on the holy day, May 5th, 2017. So this is to be publicated and, so everybody can know. I am
Hmm.
distributing this memorandum in for publication on the 155th anniversary of Cinco de Mayo to clear up some organized confusion that persists regarding the true background and status of the Moors originally domiciled here in North America, Amagir by Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought forth divine truth that has not been placated by falsehood as it may appear online.
Mm.
Mhm. History repeats itself, and Noble Drew Ali said that it will repeat itself as well. The agitation, misinformation, disinformation, and overall confounding tactics of COINTELPRO agents disguised as faithful Moors has made it necessary for the faithful to provide some clarification and by design wield the sword of truth and shame the devil. And that's what we're doing right now. So
Yeah.
we go in. For the record, when Noble Drew Ali passed away in 1929, a great sellout occurred. Noble Drew Ali's
Mm.
own Supreme Grand Business Manager Aaron Payne L. listed Prophet Noble Drew Ali's race as Black American. Why did what? What you doing? Why you do that, Moore? With your L? You kept yourself as Moore, but you made the Prophet Black. Cursed
Yep.
heathen. On this death certificate, right? So this was the essence for all practical and legal purpose of betrayal. Aaron Payne L. was a Moorish adept, attorney, and graduate of the prestigious University of Chicago School of Law. This was surely not an error, for all adepts know the true race of the Moors is Asiatic and not black. C key, number 90.
Hmm. Number
After the
90.
After the prophet passed form, the faithful Moors set out to murder Aaron Payne L for treason. His home was protected by none other than Chicago City Police.
The policy enforcers.
Hmm So let's skip to something he did because this guy is insane. Like this Aaron Payne guy. Like, and
Yeah.
wait till we tie this joint in. So wait, let me get to it. Um, Aaron Payne. Okay. Noble Drali's former Supreme Grand Business Manager Aaron Payne L. abandoned his Moorish title L and incredulously became the prosecuting district attorney for the city of Chicago. He later opened his own private practice as Aaron Payne and represented
Mm.
the famous boxer Joe Louis, the singer Nat King Cole, and other
Mm.
prominent South African Americans. Damn, he went back to the state. Now watch this, Moors. Watch this.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah, 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 yeah,
oh, the
yeah.
herb. this is bad. This is the, Moore is more than the lost leader. But in the morning, don't miss the sellout right in front of your face. What did we tell y'all about the Nation of Islam when Malik got passed for him? When they murdered him, the murderer walked right by the camera.
Right by the camera.
Right. So they always pop up right in front of to show themselves. Look at this. Look at this. Noble
White
Drive was
gloves.
the rest. Hundreds of Chicagoans attended the funeral last week of Noble Drew Ali, founder of the Moorish Temple, who died at his home after long illness. Yeah. Services were held from the Pythian Temple.
Pythian Temple.
Remember that,
Pythian
Moore?
Temple. Yep.
Remember?
Pythian Temple.
And the prophet was buried at Burr Oak Cemetery. Attorney Aaron Payne Ali.
Wait a minute. Was he what? Wasn't he
Attorney
an
Aaron
L?
Payne Ali. I thought he dropped his L and said he just stopped the more stuff. How you an
Yeah.
Ali? Well,
How you
we
Ali now?
tied into Wahi Ali or Stinky Ali allegedly. What? Wearing
Wearing
white
white
gloves
gloves.
at left. So this guy right here, that's Aaron Payne with a fez on. Look at this. You see a fez on him, right? With the gloves on. So you suited and booted, ain't you?
And on the square. Look at his feet.
Look at his feet. What the hell? Crooked square. Bastard square. Look at this dude. Yep. It said he becomes the new head of the society. So he was planning to take the prophet's place. They listed him as his successor.
He acted as his attorney and switching everything around in Cook County. That's what he did. And then he changed the prophet's Moorish identity to being black on his death certificate. So he's in the most definitely treasonous. Look at him. Look at him, Moore. He's treason. Ain't his fez marked? Ain't his fez marked?
Is that him? Oh my!
His fez is marked. His fez is marked.
Man.
That's the most treasonous. That's the most treasonous thing you can do.
Let me do this. Let me do this one too. Come on, dog. What? Let's do this. Pythian Temple, Chicago. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. Pythian Temple, Chicago. Because you already seen it, right? Look at the Egyptian markings. So when these people got these graves, they got when these people got graves with Egyptian stuff on it and sphinxes, it don't mean nothing but that they was Masons. That's what Masons do. And certain orders really go in. But let's look at this. Federation, no dirty people. Knights of Pythias. Let's let them tell it for themselves. Who are y'all? The order of the Moor.
Knights of Pythias. Look. Knights of Pythias. Look at that. Is an international non-sectarian fraternal order established in 1864 in Washington, D.C. by just H. Rathbone. Wait a minute more. H. Rathbone? Ain't that a Mason?
Ruthbone, like, right? The vowels interchangeable. They playing every time.
Yeah.
What's the first fraternal order to be chartered as by an act of Congress? You hear me? What are these people doing? Look, a year before they so-called Emancipation Proclamation stuff. Well, a year after, really, because they
look at the Masonic order. Look at the Masonic order now. Look at the pyramid. Go back.
Yeah.
Right here. That's the Masonic order right there. The pyramid upside down. Then it's up. It's up. So that's 8. That's 8 points. That's 8 points.
Subjugated. Remember with the mothers? Not the mother, but with Michelle Gibson.
Michelle Gibson said about the 8-pointed star in the cathedrals.
Right. That's
so these code. These people already know. Look, that's the code right there. That's your stuff. That's your birthright. But they put it out in the open in a Masonic order, which they are keeping the key. You see what I'm saying? To the Masonic gate. That's why they say the North Gate. You know what I mean?
What's going on? You ever see this?
Yeah, that's the 8. That's the 8 point. Then it had a 6 point too. So yeah, that's like the golden one though. You know, they usually have the one on the golden one. I think that's on the Ottoman flag, the
Yeah.
Ottoman Empire flag.
Hmm.
Yeah,
This is the Marinade Empire or the Marinade Dynasty. My fault.
the Marinade dynasty. Yeah, not
Look at this crap. They playing games.
yeah.
But so you can see that there's a 8-pointed history of Moors with the red and green.
Hmm.
You see. This 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 might have been a flag of Mexico at one time. But don't get me as saying stuff as in people.
No,
What is
no, it is because you got to think about it. Once you look at the Mexican flag, they have only white in it, and they have green and red in
mm-hmm.
it too. So you
And
have
this with the bird holding the serpent.
right because that's at the same time representing 8 point star. You see what I'm saying?
A square within a square,
The
which is
square within the square, and then you have to look at the octagon shape too. That's what's within.
yep.
See,
If you
so
make it like, if you look at it like, what do you call it? Let's look at this more. Let's look at the Merkaba, the Merkaba,
yeah, the
the
macabre,
Mer-
macabre.
see
Hmm.
you when you looking at that star or that you're looking at you're supposed to see it as a three-dimensional aspect like
Yeah,
this.
aspect. Like we are three-dimensional beings. You know what I mean? Arm, leg, arm, head.
We're dealing with the Merkaba, right?
Right.
The body soul vehicle type stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, go right there. And which is in alignment with the chakras too.
Mhm.
See?
So all this means so much glory, but until you unlock yourself, you won't be able to understand the Merkaba concepts of how
Mm-hmm.
this is your soul unlocking,
Mm-hmm.
and how it's composed. But get back, all from this so-called device right here. Look, this is showing you a Merkaba design because they got the 8 out and then they got the 6 in.
Right. Then they got
Inside of
then they
all
got
the
and then
stars.
yeah, and then they got the crescent too.
Yep,
So
all the mothers.
for the mother. Now,
So even another thing, you know how they be always talking about the checkerboard, the
yeah,
Masonic checkerboard. Well, here go Moore's flag.
right
Yeah,
there.
Moore of his flag. Checkerboard that, homie. Checkerboard that shit. It's
And
like some of the stuff they took from it. It's just not even fair when we try to show it because it seemed like you're reaching. But even if you
look,
watch
look
us,
at that flag right there with the cross on it, right? That's the Confederate flag right there that they took too, which is in representing the pyramid again
right,
too.
how this became the Confederate flag.
Yeah,
This and then at first it was a scissors, but then when you watch the movie Us movie, the mother is in red holding
with the
scissors.
scissors.
What the hell is it? And then what was the movie saying? What did they say when they first seen him? Who did they say what they was?
There was their lower selves being
Remember,
black, being something that they're not.
they said we are Americans.
Yeah.
So the people so these are the real people that got took. Well, you know, when you watch the movie, it breaks it down. The people that's in red, they the people that used to live on the earth until their identities got snatched, right? And now you got these
Hmm.
false identities of you living and paying taxes and basically a straw man, right?
Right.
So this is the de jour being when they come back to themselves to get themselves back, and the straw man would be the people we was rooting for to get away from them.
Right. It's running. Get away,
Yeah.
run.
So,
You know what I mean?
so what does Jordan Peele know about?
He knows that we're living a false narrative, and a lot of us is not gonna. They want to run from our nationality, then run to it. You see what I'm saying?
He knew
So
to
that.
make this the first picture more. This was the first jump. Remember, coming soon.
Hmm.
He put the mother in red with that's the flag, bro. The red with
Yeah,
the scissors.
but see, that's
Oh,
another
we not Moors.
Masonic. That's another Masonic key. You see,
And,
but
and
it's
then in the
putting
movie,
this.
she didn't say we Moors. She said we're Americans.
Yeah.
Oh, so y'all. Oh, and then they formed a whole Hands Across America, and it was all the people that was from the underground to get their stuff back.
Right.
Oh, okay. From the projects we arise to get our stuff back.
Mm-hmm.
They need to watch that movie and understand it with the stuff I just explained again. Maybe it'll make a little bit of sense.
Maybe instead of just looking at it as a scary movie,
Right.
you know.
So, wait, what do we got here? The Knights of Pythias, charitable, benevolent. This is amazing. Greek father of Pythagoras, who is known as the father of Greek philosophy. But they had the Sybil Pythian temple. Did he even got that from?
Mm.
So this is all a subjugation of the Sybil Pythian temples, where they was like literally the mother Python deities. But y'all don't even know about that yet. That's something else. This is the subjugation of it that everybody's looking to. What did the Moors do? The dirty Moors, did they return it back to the mother stuff? No.
No.
They had the prophet's funeral in this place. In another one of them buildings, probably. But this whole thing, then what's this guy? Oh, look, this is another funny fact. Walter Thomas Bailey, born in Illinois. His mother was named Lucy. And this guy, Prophet and Princess guy, he was like, yeah, well, the Thomas and Walter had Lucy, and nobody, that's a rare name. It's funny that Walter Thomas, what was this guy's name? Walter Thomas Bailey, the builder of the Pythian stuff and all that. His mother was also named Lucy. It's funny.
Weird. A little funny, right? It's just
so I'm
another.
on the website of this Princess and the Prophet guy because I was going all through his stuff because I'm trying to figure out his angle of what he's even talking about. But in that, I found some interesting stuff in this. Aaron Payne, right? Sitting to the left, right? So I'm like, what? So dangerous characters now. Criminal mastermind Jack Guzik. So who was really Oscar the Priest? Let's put that into play.
A mobster.
This dude was a mob. He ran the mob syndicates when it came to the dark mob. And the dark mob, feed the family, feed, all that, do the racketeering, all that. Anything you want to do, just keep it aside from the children and all that. Just give everything back. But the Italian mob had other plans. Let's put drugs in the community.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The whole show you watching, they watch The Godfather of Harlem.
Father of Harlem, yeah.
That's really the story of Noble Drew Ali and Oscar the Priest. They're showing you Bumpy Johnson and Malik. But that same story, that narrative, how that goes, how Malik trusted Bumpy Johnson to deal with the criminal stuff so he didn't dirty his coattails up and all that.
Yep.
That's this. That's
same
what you're looking at.
Same thing.
So what happened was Chicago Mafia and all that would start imploring people like this guy to subjugate this because it scared them.
Yeah.
Why does he know how to organize these people like that? And let's do this. How could this happen if this guy is just some janky guy named Walter somebody, and he's a con artist and all that? How can he form a government move to where he put somebody in the government by block vote?
Right.
We ain't do that since, but we still can do that. He let us know that information. How? So we didn't need the 15th Amendment and 14th Amendment, like he said. Why would he know all this, give us all this law and all that stuff to understand if he was just a con artist?
Right.
The 14th and 15th Amendment ain't needed for the salvation of my people. Then you really go look up in 1967, Georgia, the congressional records about the 14th Amendment, tool for equal protection or usurpation. So it's like that's echoing what he said.
Yeah, and then we already know that the stock market was crashed too because of the prophet. Yeah, in the Congress. Yeah.
Okay, so a con artist can do all of that I'm starting to think, well, if he is a con artist, why would you not understand that he must have been a damn law understood con artist if he could do all of this stuff, and then they still had to subjugate him? You won't have to subjugate a damn, what do you call it? You wouldn't have to murder a con artist. It's just like it exposed itself, right? Well, look what they did. All these gangsters. Mayor
Mm-hmm.
Big Bill Thomas, 6 foot tall Bill attorney. Big Bill um, innovated a xenophobic political movement called the America First
Mm-hmm.
and loomed large in Chicago during Prohibition. While
Yeah.
one biographer attempts to deny his corruption, his political career originated with his fellow gamblers in the sportsmen of the Club of America, and it was said that Guzik, Capone, and the Nitty Syndicate, so Frank Nitti, Al Capone, and Jack Guzik, this
That
criminal,
guy right there. Yeah, this criminal right
right,
there. Yeah.
with hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of thugs to ensure his return to office. So there you go. There go the gangsters of the Italian side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now this guy, Alderman and Congressman Oscar Sanders Priest. He was a gangster too, but
That's
let's
two. Yeah.
get right. A real estate investor and political operator who was twice indicted but never convicted for collecting from vice operators of the South Side in exchange for tribute to and protection from the police and the Thompson political machine. Opposed also accused him of buying Southside's votes for the public utilities baron, Emperor Samuel Insull. Now, why did he do that? Why was he doing all these moves? Because him and Samuel Insull had an agreement. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
see. After Clarence Darrow got him off the electoral graft charge in 1916, he briefly retired from the public life but returned to become an alderman. Indicted again in 1928 with his rival Dan Jackson, he won a vacant congregational seat that year while under indictment. Who more do you understand how do you get somebody in government that has an indictment charge? More.
They have to have a nationality because first of all, one, you know, what I mean, one's in the wrong persons and they wrong or in they proper persons, then you can fight that jurisdictional claim.
We did it, bro. The power of the Moor's vote behind the prophet
Mm-hmm.
did that. Put this boy
Mm-hmm.
in office, even though he had an indictment. See,
Mm-hmm.
charges were dropped only days before he took seat. Moore, come on
Yeah.
now, in Congress, and the investigator who dropped the charges, the same man who entrapped Marcus Garvey.
Yep. And
Ooh.
sent them and deported them from here.
Ooh. So what did Marcus Garvey tell his people, bro?
That
Still
you're
they
not.
have, bro.
It couldn't be going back to Africa. You know, the
He said
star line,
the nationality.
the nationality. Yeah.
You need, yeah, that's what y'all
You
need.
need
That's
it.
what
You
you learn
need,
from the prophet.
and this man right here is gonna teach you how to get one. You know what I mean?
So the same, what do you call it? Investigator who entrapped Marcus Garvey dropped the charges for Alderman, Oscar the priest. So Moor's national. Okay,
Nationality is
who did that? Who had that done?
the prophet.
Come on now, dog. They don't want the history. So it's funny how the dude who's trying to discredit the prophet also is showing us history of just crazy as hell of
Yeah.
what the prophet could do. Got a plum job at the United States Justice Department. Talk about this investigator guy. After Jackson's death, only days before he was set to testify, the priest's path to assuming his seat was finally cleared. Oh yeah, everybody made sure that was going to go down. So they got that guy out of here.
Yeah.
So that guy was moved along because there's powerful people around. The priest's path to assuming the seat was cleared. His time in Congress was marred by the racism of the colleagues of his own opposition to the New Deal and he was voted out of office in 1934. Remember that 1934 date?
Yep, yep,
See?
yep,
What
yep.
I'm
And
saying,
then Noble Drew Ali, former Supreme Grand Business Manager Aaron Payne L. abandoned his Moorish title L. And remember, he had took on Ali at the Prophet's.
take over.
Yeah. So it says right here. Um, okay, the manager Aaron Payne L. abandoned his Moorish title L, and incredulously became the prosecuting district attorney for the city of Chicago. He later opened his own private practice as Aaron Payne and represented famous boxer Joe Louis, singer Nat King Cole, and
Mhm.
other prominent so-called African Americans. He became a millionaire and was largely successful. The peculiar fact that we are indeed the true descendants of Moroccans was completely abandoned until the
Mhm.
national emergence of Grand Sheikh Frederick Turner L., who spoke both Arabic and English. Turner L., he worked with the Prime Minister of Morocco, Hajj Ahmed Barafri, to help arrange the independence of the Kingdom of Morocco in 1956. Okay. Oh,
Yeah, I got
FBI file report 4/22/1944, Chicago file 100-33742. As early as 1934, Grand Sheikh Frederick Turner L. led his New York Moors to their first region-based legal victory concerning the Muslim holy day Friday. See also Fez number hat and so it may be worn in court. Independent, January 28th, 1937. Sheikh Turner L began vigorously adopting the term more Moroccan
huh? Huh? Right?
as opposed to just Moorish.
Now
His
wait,
strategic
wait. Remember? Okay, oh, keep going, keep going.
Yeah, we're gonna break it down after I finish it.
Right.
Okay. It says adopting the term Moroccan as opposed to just Moorish. His strategic use, 1937, of questionnaire key 31 national descent name, clearly related to the contemporary state of Morocco as opposed to the empire of which he was a true heir and trustee as sheikh. He began to immediately look towards the UN as a model and source of legitimization for Moorish American grievances, as he spoke both English and Arabic fluently. The name change was likely done to appeal to an international political audience at large and increase the potency of his charges. In 1958, Sheikh Turner L. addressed the U.S. Justice Department, pointing to the UN Genocide Declaration as a legal and ideological base on which the U.S. could begin preventing the further physical and mental destruction of so-called African Americans. Ultimately, Sheikh Turner L. lost followers due to confusion as
Man.
the civil rights movement and the desperation for jobs and finance called potential followers to move towards the more lucrative black Muslim faction. So
Keep
that's
going,
when
boy. Finish that
that's
sentence real
when
quick. Finish that sentence though. Finish that whole sentence.
yeah, so the faction, okay, hold on. Let me finish. Where I was at.
More
Okay,
lucrative black Muslim faction.
Black Muslim faction, right? NOI, which is Nation of Islam, and Negro Christian Ministries, which were heavily financed by Texas billionaire H.L. Hunt and the U.S. corporation, respectively, through 501c3 funding. See,
Mm,
okay, these newly formed movements had the numbers and ultimately created the paradigm that still exists today. Frederick Turner L was on the right path. Noble Drew Ali stated, "We are what our ancestors were without a doubt or contradiction." Moors were and are still unwilling to totally accept their true national descent name, even though it is imperative for their salvation. See Keys 31 and 34 in September of 1952 at Frederick Turner L. Moroccan National Convention 119. Distinguished guests included El Abad Bolhafa and Mohammed Butts, who had both come in May representing Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, as well as Dr. El Mahidi Abad, a diplomatic representative of the Sultan of Morocco. There, a there a committee drafted a petition to be presented to the UN asking for Moroccan freedom, which was ultimately granted in 1956. Sheikh Turner L. fighting spirit is alive and well today in the faithful Moors who study themselves regardless of faction, grand body, temple, affiliation, non-affiliation, or whatever the case. The jurisdiction, the jurisprudence excellence of CM Bay work has spawned Moors who study daily the international laws and treaties that pertain to the Moors' true status and distinction. Mhm. Globally, in 1963, it was reported that after a 13-year battle, the Moroccan national home of in Norfolk, Connecticut, described as existing for educational and spiritual purposes, had finally won full tax exemptions thanks in part to CM Bay copyrighted documents in the Library of Congress. The late, hold up, let me see. I gotta find it. Okay, she turned L's finding spirit is alive. Okay, globally in 1963, it was reported that after a 13-year battle, the Moroccan national home of in Norfolk, Connecticut, described as existing for educational and spiritual purposes, had finally won full tax exemption thanks in part to CM Bay's copyrighted documents in the Library of Congress. The late Frederick Turner L. proved that Moroccan, right, is
Yep.
our true national descent name, as this is a new era of time, and the modern name for Moabites is indeed Moroccans, right? We should all be aware of this ancient and modern philosophy because truth is the only thing that changes, not. Sheikh Turner L proved that the Asiatics from Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and the Kingdom of Morocco recognize us as Moroccans in accordance with our own doctrine, which dated back to at least 1927. The most ironic piece of his accomplishment is that he did this great work while a sheik in the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., a 501c3. Look at there, Morris. This
Yep.
should be proof alone that it does not matter where you are. It matters most what you do. We are to be active and not passive. It is really up to us. Unity is strength, and when there is teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. Holy Quran of Mecca, verse 1311, English transliteration. Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. And when Allah intends for a people ill, there is no repelling it. And there is not for them besides him any patron. Quotes and other pertinent information, references, and educational purposes only.
Oh
In,
man,
Bal-
get this one.
mhm.
Get it. Get it.
In Baltimore, they stopped me from coming into a temple of theirs. In Newark, New Jersey, they rejected me twice. They were so afraid and jealous of that which Noble Drew Ali gave them that they thought that my strong teachings of God and Islam may put some of them out of office. Elijah Poole Bey, aka Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Go again.
We have a group of Muslims called Moorish Americans. They wrote me a letter not so long ago saying that they were coming over to join up with us. They they waited so long that I wrote and asked them to come on. They were welcome because I have known them for a long time. Elijah Poole Bay, aka Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Okay, Patterson Lafette,
That
H.L. Hunt
that
Jr.
Texas one, the one who owned all that Texas stuff.
All
But
the Texas stuff, February 17, 1889, November 29, 1974, known throughout his life as H.L. Hunt, was a Texas oil tycoon and conservative Republican political activist. By trading poker winnings for oil rights, he ultimately secured title to much of the East Texas oil field, one of the world's largest oil deposits. From it and his other acquisitions, he accrued a fortune that was among the world's largest. At the time of his death, he was reputed to have the highest net worth of any individual in the world. His personal life, which featured many children by three wives, was among the chief inspirations for the television series Dallas, whose most famous character, J.R. Ewing, was largely based on popular perceptions of Hunt. USD 1 billion at the time of his death, approximately one four one 1474th of US GNP. Standard Oil Co. Inc. was an American oil producing, transporting, refining, and marketing company established in 1870 by John D. Rockefeller as a corporation in Ohio. It was the largest oil refinery in the world of its time. Children, you are just plain rich. Noble Drew Ali. Chicago is doomed.
all that
In
oil is
Detroit,
our stuff that these people are
yeah,
their damn name
because see,
on.
yeah, because what people don't understand that we were the sheiks, and we like the sheiks over there in Saudi Arabia, so-called sheiks over there that got oil refineries and stuff right here. Moore's got oil refineries right here too, and here. That's why, that's why when everything had collapsed, when the prophet collapsed the United States corporations, everything was like they were looking crazy. They had to get rid of the prophet. You see what I'm saying? Because they didn't want the Moors to, get back into owning everything and, what I mean, setting things up back to how it was. And then they will have to take a share. You see what I'm saying? And be a republican form of government, not a democracy, which is a mobcracy type oligarchy form of government, which they are giving out um, ordinances and policies to a bunch of people that they train. You know what I mean? They're not educating them anymore as far as, capable thinkers and critical thinkers anymore. So Chicago is doomed and Detroit must go down for what they have done to you. I, your prophet, the holy prophet, was unjustly are arrested in both Detroit, Michigan, and Chicago, Illinois during his divine ministry. Noble Drew Ali, Rome, 2,000 years ago, you got me, but I got you today. Noble Drew Ali. Okay? Let all old business stay as it is, and all new business do it in your free national name. Noble Drew Ali. Those that were with me 2,000 years ago are with me today, and those that were against me 2,000 years ago are against me today. Noble Drew Ali. Noble Drew Ali came unto his own, and they received him not. Elijah Poole Bay, aka Elijah Muhammad. Allah alone guides the destiny of the Moor Science Temple of America. Noble Drew Ali. The foreign language that we most need to learn is Spanish. Noble Drew Ali. The third and fourth generation will see the good of my work. Noble Drew Ali. You are not American citizens or members of the white man's world. The only American citizens are the white people who are originally from Europe. So why fight a losing battle by trying to be recognized as something you are not and never will be? I am not trying to delusion you, but merely telling you the truth. Elijah Poole Bay, aka Elijah Muhammad. See, now that's the fraud right there. That's the fraud right there. That's the treachery. That's the treason that these Moors that was on beat of power too. You see what I'm saying? They'll take and say some bull crap about critique the prophet when the prophet was exact, true, and right. So if anybody need any type of critiquing, is you sell out Masons. All right. So we are going to be taxed to death. Noble Jurali. See, now this is what our prophet had came and brought us, but these people want to do the opposite of what the prophet brought us. So, I have got the world in a jug and the stopper in my hand. Others said that the holy prophet said, I have got the world in a jug and a stopper in my hand. I have got the Asiatic and I have got the European. I have got the silver and gold.
God damn, bro, you don't know what. Come on now.
Okay, Noble Drew
That's what
Ali.
he talking
Some
about
of
when
my
it come to
best,
this type of stuff.
he
All this,
said, so he
I
said
got
some of
the.
my
This is what he's
best Moors
saying.
are
I got
still in
this.
the church. You got me, more.
Yep.
So that's what I'm
Hmm.
saying though. Like these Moors, like Lord Alba, he changed his name so many times. Why you change it? Why you change your appellation so many times? No, now you don't have an L or Bay on your name now. So it's like you just got a war name now.
He Aaron Payne himself.
Yeah, you see.
So look, I have got the world in the jug and a stopper in my hand. Others said the
Mm,
prophet said, I've got the world in the jug and a stopper in my hand. I've got the Asiatic and I got the European. I got the silver and the gold. So that is explaining what we're looking at when we're looking at this. And all these people involved and him and how all of this goes in.
right. So he's letting them know, like I'm the prophet, I'm the Sultan of Morocco. This is the empire, and that whatever I say goes. I can put power down, and I can really stop these people from really doing this. What you need to do is come join me and claim your nationality. You see, but
So let's look at how let's go right here. We're not going about to skip over what we read about that tax jump that CNB got to get through. Noble Drew Ali
mm-hmm,
had assigned CNB was keeping the Moorish sovereignty and autonomy alive and well, and that alone, from a jurisprudence standpoint, as obedience is far better than sacrifice. CNB
right,
later copyrighted document coded look 1947, right, the so-called Israel stuff, right, coded
mm-hmm,
for the United States Title 22 Chapter 2 Section 141 under judicial protection. He also recorded the tax immune diplomatic status of Moors in conjunction with proper protections afforded them via the MFN clause and the 1947 treaty between Italy, i.e., Rome, and the United States of America. Remember, Noble Jali said, "I brought you everything it takes to save a nation. Take it and save yourself."
mm-hmm.
So, what also I wanted to make a note of something. Oh,
I want to add this right here, right? It says the Moor Science Temple number 4 in Detroit, Michigan had 1,500 members in August of 1928, just 2 days after the Prophet Noble Drew Ali reorganized as a religious organization. They are shown here voting as a block. How important do you think the voting block was to our Prophet's plan? Why did this event immediately hit the newspaper as Moore's clogging election machinery? What effect did that strategy have socially and politically? This shows that your name indicates your nationality. Look at the cast of Asselbrook. The election's official acts for a legal determination of their status. It was concluded the name Bay was considered Moorish, but also Brooke was Georgian. In that era of time, it was common understanding that each union state is a nation, although they are united by the United States Constitution. Notice that Mr. Destin presumed also Brooks nationality was Georgian and not Moorish, but the correction of his name to Ossobrook Bay would indicate his nationality was that of a Moor instead of a Georgian. The voters registration law required the real name and race be recorded. Therefore, once you are successfully in reestablishing your race and Moorish title to the Baal El on the elector's records, then your real name and race has been legally corrected. The Moors they chose to highlight here should have informed the clerk their race is Asiatic. The prophet killed three or four birds with one stone by having the Moors vote as a block of 1500 1500 souls. For those wondering, this is how nationality is proclaimed and activated within the government in which we live. Together we stand, divided we fall. Prophet Noble Drew Ali's divine warning to the nation says the first thing we must do, right? Hold up. The first thing we must do is hold up, hold up. The clerk there races Asiatic. The prophet killed two, three, or four birds with one stone by having the Moors vote as a block of 1,500 souls. For those wondering,
Right,
this
right.
is how nationality is proclaimed and activated within the government in which we live. Together we stand, divided we fall. Prophet Double Joy leads divine warning to the nation says the first thing we must do to be recognized after we have reclaimed our free national name and religion is cast a free national ballot. Vote as a block. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. This is but one issue for them to be recognized by the government and of the earth. And I confess, what it says, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world, and through it, the Moorish Divine National Movement, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege as has been this existing condition for many generations. Islam more?
Is So I wanted to go back to that part where you read it said Sheik Turner L lost followers due to confusion as the civil rights movement. People, that's so-called Michael Luther King type stuff and the black and the Negro and all that. And the
Hmm.
desperation for jobs and finance caused potential followers to move towards the more lucrative Black Muslim faction NOI or the Negro Christian Ministries. That's still a thing today when more say, well, what's the point? Or what's the point of us proclaiming nationality? Is it going
Nationality. What is going to get
to,
me? Is it going to give me some stuff or some new clothes, some a new house, or what nationality going to afford me?
and that's another reason why the prophet said, I need finances, I need it badly. So to stop this type of stuff.
Right.
So, uh, we move on to this guy, Emperor Samuel Insull. Remember, if we go back a little bit, remember Congress Alderman, he had he was buying Southside votes for Samuel Insull. Like, so
Mm.
why was he doing all of that for him? Well, let's see. Emperor Samuel Insull, in many ways, was the most powerful forgotten American. Insull was the single most powerful businessman in the 1920s United States. He controlled Chicago's Commonwealth, Edison, and the L trains, and the interurban railroads, and the power grid of hundreds of Chicago's suburbs, as well as the communities spread throughout the Midwest and Southeast. In all, his power was staggering. By 1929, when Prophet passed on, the former personal secretary to Thomas Alva Edison was the president of 11 companies worth 3 billion, about 45 billion today, the chairman of 65 more companies, and the director of another 85. Damn. Insull excelled at corrupting public officials. Hmm. His
Mm.
personal attorney, Samuel Edelson, became Mayor Thompson's corporation counsel in charge of negotiating with public utilities. He also purchased Unity Hall as headquarters for the Priest's People movement, through which he bribed voters to support Insol's candidates and issues.
Wait a
So,
minute. Wait a minute. So if him and the priest have a connection, huh? Oscar the
mhm,
priest.
yep.
Okay, go ahead, more.
So he bought Unity Hall. You know what Unity Hall is?
Yeah, it's in Chicago.
First Moor symbol type stuff. So he bought the Unity Hall as headquarters for the priest, so he could get him more votes. The year
Mm-hmm.
after, so that was the whole thing about getting him votes. I'll get you this building for the people movement if you get me votes for people.
And
Boom.
guess who building was it was for the prophet, right?
Exactly.
And that's who prophet got in office, right? Right.
hmm
But they double crossed the prophet though. Let's go carry on, though, more. I just want to, point that out.
It said the year after Noble Ali died, tended by Dr. Clarence Payne L. of Providence Hospital, Insol led a $3 million fundraising drive for the hospital.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And this Moor was in there too. So what the hell's going on? After Unity Hall, which was managed by King of Gamblers Dan Jackson, became the headquarters of Moor Science Temple of America, Insol met a group of Moors there. Although it appeared that neither the group knew who one another was, Insol's ownership of Unity Hall and association with the priest and Jackson did not become widely known until 1934, that same date, when they
After
got
the prophet,
out
after the
there.
prophet, yeah, after the prophet was demise and stuff like that, and Alan Payne did all the little bull crap
Yeah,
he did,
let's
and
not
and
forget
danced
that.
around, and
Let's
and
not
and,
forget
and
the
yeah,
prophet gave it to Millie, but then somehow when Millie go to make the announcement, the damn driver sits in the damn seat. They should have killed
right.
him. But
They
anyway,
should have killed them then. You
talking
see,
about I'm the resurrected prophet. How you resurrect before dying? You
right?
like how you resurrect in the same lifetime of the person that you was living with? That don't make
Mm.
sense. I'm the prophet now. I'm resurrected. What are you talking about? You
No,
were just
you was
giving.
an agent, a COINTEL agent that came in and usurped what the prophet had going on because you was the power attorney. You wore the white gloves. You had the marked feds. We have a picture of you, Alan Payne.
Yeah,
Then you change your appellation after the prophet's demise because you was jealous of his nobility and fame. You change your appellation to Ali. You damn fraud.
and they was with it too. All these people taking these pictures and doing this whole thing, they was with him becoming the successor. But the prophet said, Emilio, if you don't do nothing, keep up my movement because these people ain't gonna do it. Ain't nothing for them
Right.
but death, right?
Mm-hmm.
So somehow we didn't get Millie, but we get Kirkman Bay and with the Pythian Temple. We get and they actually had his service in there. We're gonna get to that. We had we got this Aaron Payne guy trying to take it over, and then we got John Givensell thinking he did resurrected, and we got Fard Muhammad who kind of resembles um, Aaron Payne, who was another bull acting like he was the resurrected prophet Noble Drew Ali.
Mm-hmm. And then don't forget we got Elijah Poole Bay, who transformed into Elijah Muhammad and stole some of the Moorish movement and secrets, and he kept a Moor Science Temple in New York, upstate, which was still affiliated with the Nation of Islam, you know. So we're gonna just throw that out there too, for the record, more.
So Insol fled the country by yacht for Greece.
Mm-hmm.
He eventually returned to the United States, faced trial for security fraud, and was acquitted. So now we look at what he was doing. This article is from the newspaper, John, and it's like instead of this is what they always do. They tell you the truth through pictures and stuff like that instead of you listening to the news and all that. Look at the pictures and what they're trying to show you. This dude is like basically taking Rhino Bill, this the bull Big Bill, right? The Monster Bull, right? This Frank Nitty, right? Insole
Yeah,
Cat.
yeah,
This who this? This one of the governor dudes, Len. And you see that he got a whole barrel of dough, and he's pulling this this traction deal out of the what up Salts Creek, like up Shit's Creek, right? So this deal, they see us a tow car, like I mean a trolley, mean it's a trolley they sitting on, and
Yeah.
they were do it's a 10-cent fare and a perpetual franchise. So that's funny because we still we pay for fare for the damn trolley today,
Right.
and they was trying to stop him from implementing that. So this is
And
where it gets weird.
that's where it gets weird right there. All the
So I hope
corporations now. Look at the
we broke that
corporations.
down. Y'all get this picture just so when you look at this picture, it can play another tune to you. Let's
Mm-hmm.
look what this guy who's talking about the prophet. Some other guy said. Sometimes cartoonists dare to say more than journalists. The
Right.
Tribune cartoon on the left shows a crane marked with insoles, though, fishing the insole traction deal out that would have given 10-cent fare and perpetual franchise to use city streets out of the creek. So funny. While Governor Len Small is splayed over a barrel, thanks to the Tribune's crusade, the bill failed. Oh, the bill failed in the state legislature. So when they put this out, his bill to make this, this traction bill, it failed because of the picture. Everybody was like, "I ain't we ain't doing that."
Yeah.
Uh, so on the right, we see on the very day that the Chicago Defender, that picture we was looking at with Alan Payne with the white gloves,
Mm-hmm.
that's from that John. That's from the Chicago Defender. Reported the death and burial of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It ran a front page cartoon showing a fat black politician listening to a gramophone like those sold in Samuel Insull's Commonwealth Edison stores.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? He had got
Yeah.
saying, "Do as I tell you, and these dollars are yours."
Right.
So, get me these votes. This is supposed to be Oscar the Priest.
Yeah.
Get me the votes, and these dollars are yours. So so the crazy part is that what did he do with the dollars? Unity Hall.
Yeah.
So for them to show this, it was trying to. That's why Insall fled because it was hot in the city. So look at how this works. Look how crazy this whole thing works. Oh wait. How can I get that larger? Anyway, I'll try it from there. Followers mourn at most Noble Drew Ali is laid to rest. Followers mourn at bier of leader. Shrouded with the royal raiment of the prophet and encased in $1,000 full coach metallic casket, the body of Noble Drew Ali, late leader of the Moor Science Temple of America, lay in state at Frank Edwards Undertaking Parlor, 4136 Michigan Avenue, from Monday until Friday. Man. During that period, thousands of persons, members of the temples from other cities and citizens of Chicago, passed the bier to take the final look at the dead prophet. Many of the Chicagoans who were taking their first as well as their last look at Drew.
Mm.
At 1 o'clock Friday, the body was taken to the Pythian Temple, 37th place in State Street, so the same building, where the funeral service was held. How y'all damn had it? Why didn't they have it in the Moor Science Temple? Why they do it in the Pythian Temple? The Masonic joint. The services, which included singing, the burial ritual of the cult, resolutions, and an orientation, lasted for an hour. And a solo was sung by Etta Mae Robinson and other songs led by the choir. And the Eastern burial ritual was led by Kirkman Bay.
Yeah. And
Whatever
Kirkman
he,
Bay and Kirkman Bay we know is a Mason and he's a dirty Moor and he marked his fez too. So let's just put this out there too for the record.
Right.
Kirkman Bay, he marked his fez. We could pull up a picture of him. He was known to wear a fez with it was marked. And Alan Payne Bay, we already saw his picture with his fez marked. When the prophet and
These dirty words. These dirty
these
words.
guys know what the prophet, they know the teachings. The prophet said, "Do
Dirty.
not mark your fezzes." So, so after the prophet is gone, you guys decide to mark your fez. So you didn't really take the prophet's teaching to heart. You were there to usurp the prophet. You were there to, you know, um, pro the movement.
Hey,
But
yo, bro. You know what's crazy? Watch this. Sheik
hmm
C. Kirkman Bay was also known to many as Colonel C. Kirkman Bay and Charles Kirkman Bay.
hmm
Uh, Sheik Kirkman Bay was the janitor of the temple during the
mm.
time of the Prophet Ali. Prophet
Look
knows
at
Ali.
look at there. So he was being nosy. He was being the one that was looking and keeping a close eye on the prophet and what the prophet was doing. So you have the okay. So you have the driver. Now you got the custodian. That's cleaning up. That's in the movement, but he's really not there to clean up. He's really there to see what the prophet got going on.
Right.
Really,
Fine with your damn janitor job.
yeah.
Then you happen to be an interpreter, so the prophet like, dang, you good with this language stuff. You want to be language secretary? Like, I could host the damn sixth annual Pan American conference with you.
hmm
I mean, like, he's just an interpreter. And he like, Sister M. Lovett L., past Grand Governess of Illinois, said that the Holy Prophet asked her, "Do you have anyone in your temple that can speak foreign languages?" She said yes. At the time, she was the Grand Sheikess of Temple 9. She said that one cold night that she took Brother C. Kirkman Bay to the Holy Prophet's office, where she said, "Brother Prophet, this is the brother I was talking about." She said, "I thought that I was introducing him to the prophet, but they had already knew each other because they had went to school together." She said that
hmm
the Holy Prophet asked Brother C. Kirkman Bay, "Can you speak High German?" Brother C. Kirkman Bay said, "Yes, I'm a little rusty." She said that the Holy Prophet reached into a trunk and pulled out a book and dusted off with a feather duster and handed it to Brother Kirkman Bay, and he read from it, and the Holy Prophet was satisfied and told him he could go down to Cuba with him, and he wanted to go with him. Brother C. Kirkman Bay told the prophet that he had a wife and a child and children. The Holy Prophet let him know that they would be provided for.
hmm
Clean Moor being a prophet, this guy had dirty tricks up his sleeve. So that's who he is. Right.
Right, and then you using the prophet, and the prophet still showing you mercy, even though he know that you was there to use him anyway. You know what I mean? Because the prophet was a mastermind. He knew these niggas. Excuse me. He knew these dirty Moors was going to betray him. So that's why he told. That's why his prophecies and his hadiths are so profound because the prophet was the mastermind. He brought everything there is to save a nation, and then you have all these so-called ADAPs that's out here running um um misleading stuff that we already know that are just straight out slander and disrespect to our prophet. And that right there, when you start talking crazy about our prophet and then you claim to be a Negro, colored, black, or you know what I mean, in that actuality, you really having a disservice to yourself and your own creed and your own race and your own nationality, because that's something that you need to think about and wholeheartedly really comprehend that you putting yourself down. So, because you can't see yourself no bigger than a nigga. You see what I'm saying? Or being in a powerful role or of ruling. You know what I mean? So our people have to get out of that slave mindset, that slave mentality mindset, for them to really get into this information and really start freeing themselves. Because if they don't do that, well, then they're going to be subjected to these clowns on Be the Power. But go ahead, Moore. We're going to go ahead and do this thing.
So look at this.
Islam.
Look at this part right here. Kirkman circled the casket 3 times. He made 3 more trips around the casket. This time he was followed by 10 men, the
So
grand
that
chiefs of the branch temples.
oh, so that's a ritual that they did, huh? And they trying to encase the prophet with their funky ritual
In
after
a
they
Scythian temple, by the way,
right
in a Masonic temple.
in a Masonic temple. So that's why they want to try to affiliate our prophet with a temple and call him black on the death certificate. You see the
Yep.
treason? You
The
see the
trees
treason?
crazy,
Do you see
right?
the treason in these works? And then you still have these people still slandering our prophet, to this day, what I mean, calling him, these false characters and these false narratives and trying to slander our prophet and keep calling him black or this that and the third when we already know that we are Moors. Okay, black is another way of saying negro in Spanish. Negro, negra means black. Okay, so negro, negra means black in Spanish, and you calling yourself negro in English, which is black again, and then you turn around and call yourself black in English again. Then you turn around and call yourself Afro American. Then you turn around and call yourself colored. Okay. Then now African American. So why are we only people who's being called all these labels? Then I did some research and our own so-called people leaders, NAACP, um, 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 what else you got all these civil rights leaders, all these sellouts, what I mean, that know this history because they are Masons, they 32 degrees. And Martin Luther King, he was a Mason himself. So, but they assassinated him within his order because he went against the Masonic, plan of keeping our people indoctrinated. So at the same time, even though he was performing his duties, but he took an oath to those duties, but he didn't fulfill those duties because he felt that in his heart that he was leading his people into a burning house. So within that, you know, and he was leaving keys to people,
Bro,
and that couldn't happen no more. So his people that was on his team, which was Jesse and Al, they led him to the balcony for his setup. You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of things that people got to understand about our history, our story, for real, and the cover up. So more, we're gonna just go ahead and let you, take it from here now.
it's going more. Look at this. How at this bottom paragraph it say prophet's work is done. Right.
Hmm.
The obituary was read by William Milley, and resolutions from the temples in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Richmond, and other cities were read by representatives from those cities. Hmm.
Mm.
Attorney Aaron Payne, assistant city prosecutor, business manager for the Moore Science Temple, and said to be candidate to succeed Noble. And you already know I was going to say Drew Ali. So he was said to succeed. When was that written into the workings what the prophet was talking about?
Right. It never was.
Boom.
But that's where you got the coup come into play. You know what I mean? Just like, these people are very diabolical and they very organized. You have to understand the level of coup that's coming in. Like we got so many European Cretan immigrants that is hereby. So they're here in this country right now. That's not here on visas and none of that, but we calling them Americans, so we don't know them. You see what I'm saying? From Australian, which we know they're not Australian, which we know they're not Brazilian, which we know, but they got them these immigrants everywhere, but they want to mess with the Mexicans and call them immigrants and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's the whole deal within this structure that we are living in, and our people got to afford to know that you have certain politicians that are so-called black, so-called African Americans that's running these democratic jurisdictions, all right, and they hellholes, all right. There's no justice being implemented. There's no love being implemented. There's no truth being implemented. There's no peace being implemented. And damn sure there's no freedom. and damn sure is no justice. So if our people don't understand that they're being duped on a daily basis by them watching this get along, go along, fanatics, critics, that want to run around here and bring false narratives, mix truths, double talk with falsehood, okay, and further keep our people down in the subjugation, because it's a mental slavery that we're fighting against, and it's a spiritual warfare that we're fighting against, and then it all runs into physical when our youth are killing each other in a faster rate. You know what I mean? Everything is speeding up. Like the more chaos, you see what I'm saying? Like the more orders that's gonna have to be implemented. Because if we don't, it's gonna be a lot of people who's not gonna get this, and they're gonna be cast off in the flame to the wolves. You know what I mean? Because everything is a slight movement of hand. These are tricksters. We are mystics. So they're gonna do magic and we're gonna do mysticism. Okay? Because this is what the wizards, you see what, in the witches that are going against the. You see what I'm saying? So when people understand that words cast spells, and we have to be very proficient at what we mean and what we say and mean what we say. So, you know what I mean? This right here that we are revealing today, we have to be a little bit more, we're going to clarify the situation, you know, because we have a lot of um, clandestine Moors running around here that know this information, but they want to twist it, and then they want to misconfuse. I mean, yeah, twist it and then misconfuse things, and disregard certain things and skip over things, jump over things, state certain things, and then leave things out. So we're going to make things clear as we can right now. So I yield the floor again, and I'm gonna let Kasir, my brother, take over the floor.
Is like,
Islam, or
so we can safely postulate that this is some mob stuff that was also involved with the prophet. Some Italian mob maybe hit. Now we see this guy, this Mayor Big Bill Thompson guy again, in his second term. Gangsters with handguns bulging from their pockets roam City Hall, twisting the arms of aldermen, and prostitution spread without control into black neighborhoods. Now watch this. While that's happening, he also courted black voters with whom he was incredibly popular and gave black support enough jobs that racist opponents started to call City Hall Uncle Tom's Cabin. This dude was doing that not to give any help to people. He was trying to cause a ruckus between the Europeans, or the Italian Europeans, or whoever, and the black people, because he was giving them more, so called Uncle Tom, but still calling them black.
yeah,
Although
but see,
initially Noble Drew Ali allied himself with Thomas Machine politicians like Black Alderman Louis B. Anderson and Oscar Stan the Priest. He broke with the Machine in early 1929 as he struggled to retain control of his movement. He broke away from the Machine.
broke away from the machine, huh?
That right there would be too many people involved in this guy and him funding all this, having all this money and funding all this stuff. And he looked so-called Jewish, as they would call, right?
Right.
And him and the priest and this guy Jackson being a gambler guy, and then they opening the headquarters, or the Moorish Science Temple, buying the headquarters from whoever owned it at the time, because it's a document they got where, let me see if I can find it, where it documents the Moors finding or buying that land. Hold up. I think if I look at that, John, I'll find that picture. No.
Okay, I want to add this too. We added the original 13th Amendment from the pages of congressional records, documents of American history on our congressional records. Then we have Article 12, clearly affirms if you are a descendant of Africans, which we know we are descendants of Moors, You cannot be a citizen of any of the United States of America. Therefore, this includes anyone who calls themselves or answers to being Negroes, colors, and blacks today, and say they are descendants of those who were kidnapped from the coast of Africa by Englishmen will help
Uh,
of their own brethren during the fourth stage of the colonial conquest, Christian colonizers intent who just got out of slavery themselves. So, so how you gonna enslave somebody you just got out of you just got they just abolished slavery in 1865. So so you enslaved us and you just got out of slavery in 1865? So somebody is telling a lie here. Okay? And and clearly it says includes anyone who calls themselves okay, Englishmen with help of their own brethren during the fourth stage of the colonial conquest, Christian colonizers, until who just got out of slavery themselves. Many of the family of Moors across the nation, particularly those in the North American continent, have established all sorts of movements, activities, organizations, associations, um, coalitions, etc., to tackle their unalienable and inalienable birthrights and liberties and infringements issues, which are civic in nature. Okay, so why our people are not investing themselves in civics, which they'll say this movement is just a religious movement, which that is a lie, which we already know that I read earlier saying that even though the brother was in the ink, he still made things happen. What was that brother name again? Sheik Thomas Sheik Els, I think it was.
hold on,
Sheik Wayel, was it? Something more like that.
Shiguel, that's a Lord Abba name.
Yeah, yeah, but it was another brother I called. He was in the
Uh,
Moore Science Temple Inc. And he still did his thing as far as hold on, let me see if I can look
oh
it
yeah,
up.
yeah, that joint that was the memorandum from RBB publication. I just
Yeah,
out of it. He still got it. But
yeah. But that boy his I think it was Frederick something. Wasn't it
yeah,
Frederick Thomas L, I think it was.
let me look up the document again.
Yeah, look it up again because I don't want to call um the bull name wrong, the more name wrong.
Yeah, here we go. Memorandum.
Okay.
RBB.
Rebay, right?
So the dude who sent it is Sidi Salim Azim Bey Effendi, and the more that we was reading about was Frederick Turner L.
Frederick Turner L. Okay. So it's no excuses more. It's like Frederick
Yeah,
Turner
no,
L. He was in a ink temple,
here we
you
go right
know, okay, and he found out that what was going on in those temples, and he still fought for our rights through those temples because that's what the prophecy is about. What the prophet already had said that Moors are going to come into this with their eyes wide open and put you old Moors in the back. Okay, so that's one of his prophecies right there coming into play. So, like I said before, a lot of our people they want to debunk or they want to challenge or they want to try to make things a debate or an action sport or something like that in that regards or jousting match, boxing match, and things like that nature when it comes to this type of information that's going to free them. You
So
see, we have
more. I think it's time to get into. So we see how the prophet's death is way deeper than people want to like really admit. So
Yeah. Or
all this
acknowledge.
done to get this man like out of his position and assassinated. Why would they do all of that if he was just a con artist who just did fake magic?
Oh, because they already know that this right here will ruin everything that they built and robbed and stole. That's
And the
just like,
same
okay,
black
yeah,
civil rights
that
and all that stuff these people
civil
fighting with
rights and
today
yeah,
what
all
is what he was going against back then.
right. Because civil rights is another privilege to put you up under segregation. You under segregation with certain privileges. Like, okay, we're gonna give you these rights, but they're not gonna be afforded for any anything. We can take them away from you whenever we get ready, type deal. You know what I mean? We're gonna treat you any kind of way. We're gonna do you any kind of way, and not just that. We're gonna get your own officials that call themselves Negroes and blacks and colors and everything that get you to go along with it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the whole scheme. Because the whole thing when J. Edgar Hoover said it out of his mouth, I make the black messiahs. So if anything, the black messiah, I make them so I can control them. That's the whole that's the whole point. That's why when the Black Panther Party movement was in full effect and those brothers was using arms, they first called it the Panther movement, then they just put Black Panther on it, and then certain things had them brothers couldn't carry arms anymore and stuff. Certain people was assassinated by the police that
Hmm.
but was infiltrated with our own people though. They used our own people. Now now what people don't get and what I want to clarify right now is that when it comes to somebody helping you, right, and helping you up out of the condition that you are in, there's other people who's benefiting off of you being in the condition that you are in. So if they benefiting off the condition you are in, and when somebody like me or you, brother Kasir, come and try to redeem them, you see what I'm saying? Then it's a problem. The same thing with the prophet. When he came, he bankrupted all this craziness. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people have to go running with their tails tucked because they couldn't do anything because he had everything wrapped up tight like a mummy. You know what I mean? Go into mummification. You see what I'm saying? What he's saying is, all you dead, all you motherfuckers is dead, and I'm wrapping you up so you can't do anything about it. All it can be is a ceremony of what you used to be. You see, and they couldn't have that. They couldn't have that. So what they do, they waited till he did what he's supposed to have did as far as his prophecies and stuff like that, and then they went in the coup his movement by setting the prophet stuff out of his building, throwing everything out. Then after he came from the convention, Detroit betrayed him. Chicago, Detroit betrayed him.
Hmm.
The Moors in Baltimore, okay, you know what I mean? They are right now get the flag raised, and you don't have no more than those Moors from that temple there. Why is not a national event? I thought we was a national people, international people. So why we are a nation of Moors? We are a nation of people, right? And you're supposed to be uplifted for all of humanity, what the prophet had instructed us to do. And he instructed us to enforce that constitution, which is attached to treaties, which is attached to your nationality and your birthrights, okay, and your inalienable rights. So if he's the first thing he does is lift us up to know that we're not black Negro colors first, then teach us civics, okay, because that's the girth of having a political status and being a what, a jural society,
Yep.
which is what, a theocratical society, gives you, which affords you your religious protections with those civics, which you can enforce the law. Which that's why Obama said he afforded that Morocco recognized this country. You see what I'm saying? As a nation, which is founded on Muslim law. So who's practicing Muslim law? Moors are. Who we derive our power from the Quran, you know. So if we derive our power and creed from the great God Allah and Muhammad, right? So that has anything to do with Muslim law? Of course it does. Of course it does. But our people want to say they Christians and this, that, and the third because that's the coup right there. Because when Christianity was running around, we already knew we had a Christian empire of Moors, and then we had the Moors that was already here, indigenous and aboriginal to the land that was in Islam. That's why you see all the temples and all the buildings that the European daughter, the modern European daughter, was referring to. All the structures and stuff like that. What other name was Michelle?
Michelle Gibson.
Gibson, yes.
So it's like guy, like, well, this whole depiction in this article showing some of your politicians that got money from the insole, microphone thing.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows you that when the prophet broke from the machine, as they called it, that was another stepping stone. And little did they know how dirty these Moors was inside the temple, already trying to become resurrected prophets and all this stuff.
Right. Because they already made deals with the United States corporation, right, that they will have a piece of the pie. Because when we look up in history, we still had a lot of our people still rich and still move in certain ways. You know, just like you had, what's her name, the millionaire that created that, the perm or whatever, JJ, what her name was, damn, I forgot her name. JJ, I forgot her name. But anyway, she's supposed to have made a hair pressing agent that's supposed to, press your hair out, for Moorish women. And CJ Walker, I think it was. Madam CJ Walker. And she made this, it's supposed to be, that's what perms came from, they say, but it wasn't really. It's supposed to have been some natural, ingredients that our ancestors used to straighten our hair through plants. You see what I'm saying? And that she took it and made a patent out of it. You see what I'm saying? But she stole it from another Moorish lady, an indigenous lady. So this, what we got to understand is that we had a business side of things that a lot of our people took from other Moors, what I mean, that we just was doing and practicing, what I mean, and they took it and made money off of it.
Here go Moore. I was trying to think of her name earlier, but I spelled the St. Clair wrong. I spelled it Sinclair instead of St. Clair. This mother right here is the mother who started the numbers game.
The numbers game. See, and that's what I'm saying. Like with our women, like
went at it with what's his name though?
The Italian guy. She was with an Italian guy too. The numbers running that
she sent Dutch Schultz a letter when he was in jail.
Yeah.
Like, getting him out of here. Look, watch this. Conflict with the mafia. After the end of Prohibition, Jewish and Italian crime families, right? You gotta watch those Italian movies. The Jews and the Italians is in bed in the mob. That's why all this is involved together. And Saul got it. All of it's involved. Saw a decrease in profits and decided to move Harlem gambling scene. Bronx-based mob boss Dutch Schultz was the first to move in, beating and killing numbers of operators who would not play or pay him protection. St.
Mm-hmm.
Clair and her chief enforcer, Bumpy Johnson,
Bumpy Johnson. That's what Bumpy Johnson come into play. See
refused to
now.
pay protection to Dutch Shaw despite the violence and all that. So St. Clair, it got crazy. Her whole life is crazy. If you want to go in, look up this Moor named Abdul Hamid. They call him the Black
Mm,
Hitler.
the Black Hitler, Abdul Hamid, and see that's probably where we get all the connection from too. Like what people don't understand is that Italians was considered as black people. Irish was considered as black people. Um, who else that came over here as immigrants that before I think it was in 1965 or 19 somewhere around 1965 1943. From 1943 to 1965, these people were black. Okay, Italians, Irish, Polish, um, Germans, um, and I think if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I think that's what it was at that particular point in time. And then I just told y'all that in 1865 they abolished slavery. So if they abolished slavery in 1865, so who was ruling before 1865? You see, we
Yep.
were. So if it's so, what people have to understand is that when history comes in, and when we dig and research, we are trying to put puzzles together. Just like when you sit down and drink tea, and eat you some of those crackers that your grandmother used to give you, and y'all used to sit down and play those puzzles and puzzle games and stuff like that. It's the same thing with more science. You have to do your research. You have to take this serious and look at certain things from a perspective of your nationality and your birthrights, because it's all here, but we have to just all come together on one sound mind to, what I mean, put things in perspective. That's why the prophet was so adamant about us being active Moors and not passive Moors. Islam Moor or the other floor.
It's Von Moore. This Moore had a plane and he somehow died in his own plane crashing.
Mm.
This the husband of Stephanie St. Clair. She tried to shoot him, but that's a whole nother story. But to get to wrap this whole John up, we could go into, remember how the prophet said we should learn how to speak Spanish?
Yes.
It's a wonder the things you would learn if you understood what Moro y Cristi o la Mahoma de beer mean.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take them out with some YouTube videos.
Okay.
La Mahoma. So already you see the pageantry.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody dressed up, right? But whose culture do you see? Like, who are these people? It's all Europeans, right?
Yep.
Doing the cultural appropriation, as we call it. Now they're dressed up as clowns and doing all the parade. Now watch this. See the Mexican stuff
Look
going
at
on
Mexican.
there, right?
Yeah.
Doing these weird dances. Now, how is this all incorporated? Because look what they do later in the night. They do a procession with a dark-skinned Muhammad.
Yeah. Pause that for one second more. Let me interject. Now, the rendition of them dancing in the streets with all the different customs, with those different customs, you seen the Mexican, sombrero, and you seen the Dutch, then you seen the Danish, then you seen the French, those renditions. Well, in those renditions, renditions, right, and reanimations, Those are entailed of the nations that the Moors have already created, and they were dark skinned people with those customs first.
That's what they showing you. It's
That's
like their
what they
whole.
that's what they're showing you. That's now what that's why I have to interject and stop the video right there and put that in for the record for people to understand that they are showing you that all these nations, right, that they are claiming to be a part of now and that made up like Senegal, like Liberia, like Egypt, like let me see, yeah, Senegal, I said, Liberia, you know, such Morocco, etc. Those nations was made up already predicated to this side over here. Morocco was over here first. That's
How
why
come
when Morocco,
Muhammad don't look Arab or
right,
Arabian? How come he don't look like?
Arabian,
How come he don't look like African?
because those peoples that we are now giving those nationalities to are those nations that we birthed with the mixing in the harems, like the Sierra Leone women and etc. The Taino Moors, they had a jurisdiction over there, and the Spaniards were Moors. That's why they were Latin speakers. What I mean, they had Cordoba, and you had different Moors that would have different customs, which those different customs and heritage turned into nationalities and heritages. You see, so from one favorite nation brings many nations. Now you can go ahead, more. Slime, I yield the floor.
Look at these Europeans with their feathers on.
Yeah, they
It goes
paying
a lot
homage.
further. Look,
They
I think.
paying,
Look at this.
yeah, they paying homage to our ancestors too at the same time.
It's a ritual they do where they hang. You see the little Jones on his the crescent moon, the little circles. When he walked by, they hang the little circles on the crown. This
Mm,
thing.
yeah, which is a representation already that's on your fez.
So they start talking jokes about how, oh yeah, well, the Moors, it's the Moors that conquered us, but they ain't conquering us now, right? Look at, they don't look like this, they ain't doing this no more, right? So it's fun. Let's
Right,
celebrate the fact that they don't get to do this to us no more.
right,
So it makes us, when we see this, we'll despise this guy,
right.
this character. We'll despise them like the feathers because they wearing them. We don't understand what they're showing you.
Mm-hmm.
They're celebrating the fact that they don't got to be under slavery no more to him, and they can just make it a damn joke.
Yeah, and not
Look at all,
just
man,
that,
look at all this crap.
and
Fed
not
Mark
just
and shit.
though too, because that's when the subjugation come into play too. We have to understand that we're no longer in rule no more. We are subjugated now. So it's a joke, you know, for them to see us, from where we used to be to when you look at now. That's just like your cool uncle who used to be cool back in the fly. What I mean? Now he a crackhead and he smoked dope and he don't do, mean, he don't look good anymore. He's not his, self like he used to be. What I mean? All fly, cool. What I mean? Always knew stuff, always was doing something, always had the attention, the ladies and stuff like that. But now he's crackhead. You see? Same thing.
Europeans deep as hell, rocking feathers and shit,
Yeah.
and Moors don't even realize what we looking at. Like, and then the
Mm,
whole festival is called Moro y Cristio, and this is what
mm,
the Plumbers Day parade is basically. It's basically they mock the Moors versus the Christians. So they come
because
out as the Moors and the Christians, and then they do a
yeah,
mock
because they already wanted you to be confused. Like they want you to think that you didn't rule both sides. They want you to think that you just was Islamic and they Christianity was made by them and them only and this, that, and the third. No, 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 no. No. We gave you that for your salvation, then you took it and tainted it and made up a deity in your form and image and likeness. So, what I mean, that's the real truth and girth of the situation. It didn't have anything to do with You know what I mean? Them making you is really the opposite. You the creator of them. So, you know what I mean, when you go into, millions of years, going thousands of years, our ancestors was already flying and already had ancient technologies, far out of this world. Like some of the stuff now that the military is hiding, what I mean, and that they possessing is from the ancient, from some of the ancient ancestors that, left, and they don't even know how to use it. So
Now,
that's
right
why,
now, this ritual take place in Spain all the time, but it originates from Philly in
right,
1600.
right, Philly, because that's what we got to understand where everything shake and mix them.
The 8 point
Everything,
stars, John, she was talking about.
everything's, yeah, everything started from over here anyway. So yeah, that's why they try to throw you off and have them do those renditions over
Brandon
there.
Green.
You know what I mean? Just like over there in Spain, they'll say that's Spain over there, and like that's Georgia over there. You know what I mean? But in actuality, these places is right here: Georgia, Mississippi, um, um, Texas, um, what else?
You see the
Uh,
European daughters in the front and all this stuff.
yeah, yeah. But we gotta understand though, like
It's the Christian side.
as the Christian side, yeah, which they was under which okay, it was two sides. You had the Christian side when you had Europeans up under the Christian
Oh,
side
here
of
go
the
the mock
Moors.
battle. It's the mock battle shit.
Yeah,
Like, so when
and
you go
they
to school and you go to they take you on the trips like the Gettysburg and the Valley Forge and you watch the mock battle of the war, John.
hmm
This is what they doing right now. A mock battle of when the Moors fought the Christians.
right. And that's when we failed. It
Now
was
just
like
because it's
this,
a circus, people's getting like they're getting it misconstrued that the shit like they're making the circus now. That don't mean it didn't take place in the times when it happened. It's like hundreds of years ago.
right?
And these people wasn't even like when you saying European and all that, they wouldn't even be considered uh the ones modern day European.
Nah,
You know,
they
like
are
Mars
they well let
and all
me
that.
clarify the European credence because they wouldn't be the Europeans like back in the day, the darker European Moors. You feel what I'm saying? So we that's why we want to show you this, like as far as the dunce hat, look at his fez. You
Yep.
see what I'm saying? People gotta understand that everything that these Europeans modern Europeans are doing, they are doing in likeness of us and our ancestors and how we were ruling, because all the buildings that these Europeans automatically, possess and say they built, they never built it. Our ancestors built this stuff. Okay, majority of the stuff that they looking at now, you see what I'm saying, has already been built. So what people got to understand is that, okay, so this stuff has already been built. So they're giving you the wrong history. They're giving you the wrong dates of things that what was built and stuff like that to hide certain things. That's why they demolish certain buildings, destroy them, and then take the bricks off and build something else. You see?
Then look behind him, more. Look behind him what they got up behind him.
Yeah, that's look like a hold on. What is that behind them?
This
That look like
these
a
cows they hang.
pail. What is that? A child? What?
That's the mother the Madonna and child.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, we already
The
seen that
original,
that
yeah,
comes through. The Madonna and Child comes through a Haitian deity, right? Which is Morris is Mayu what is what's called Mayumbe?
oh, what the Paulo Mayombe?
Yeah, Apollo Mayombe. So that the Black
Puerto
Madonna
Rico and Leticia,
comes
that's
through that way.
mm-hmm.
So when people think that the priest and all this, that, and the third is so holy and all that, that comes from all that science comes from the priest of Anu, which is the Stili priest of Tamari, which they'll call Egypt, what we know as Hakupta. So these people, they play games, and they put it right in our people's face, doing rituals in their face, and they still don't want to claim anything. And then from the blackface issue, right? How these European Cretans are demonstrating the Moors with the blackface, with the feathers and stuff like that, and our people still don't get it. And then on top of that, they had a same um like ritual as like Birth of a Nation when they use Europeans in blackface, okay, with the Ku Klux Klan symbolically holding the Moor down, waving his fez in front of his face, okay, letting you know, look, I know who you are, but I will not let you get back to this crown right here. I'm showing you. I can't let you get back to this, because if I let you get back to this birth of a nation will be destroyed before it even becomes a nation. See what I'm saying? So we have to look at it from that standpoint too, because they wanted to be a nation as far as what we was in capacity of doing. They didn't want to be like, like the saying is, stay in your own lane. They didn't want to stay in their own lane. They wanted to come out from out of their lane and come jump in our lane and rule over us, which is where we got so many defiant and so much bullcrap going on right now with our people. That's why so many people are getting murdered, dying. Um, we're not in our morals and principles anymore. Nobody want to be accounted to anything anymore, or take any accountability. Nobody want to stand up and be politically correct anymore. Everybody want to take some damn Federal Reserve notes and say, "Yeah, I'm cool. Like as long as I got the bag, I ain't worried about nothing." Huh? Well, that's the wrong mindset, because when things really start popping off and you don't have a nationality and you don't have any way to protect yourself or protect your family or secure their rights, then you are going to be the one that's going to be looking crazy at the end of the day, because you believe these people criminals, and believe this false narrative that these Moors that are in cohesion with um and collusion with these damn um Masons, which are a part of shadows to the ones that taking oaths, that they out here spreading this propaganda to our people that they're Negroes, blacks, and colors and stuff like that, which we know in law that's non-discernible and civil letter mortis. Okay, so our people got to get this straight. Once you understand law, once you understand history that goes
Lord,
with that law,
oh my God, more
look at
look,
it. Yeah,
look,
I'm looking at it. I'm
look,
looking at it more. I'm
fuck.
looking at it.
Look, he say Pope Francis and Pope Emeritus Benedict the fifth, 16th
Hmm.
prayed together in front of the Black Madonna.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, and Pope John Paul visits the Angolan to pray to Black Jesus. That's
yeah,
a boar's head. What are
yeah.
we
That's a
talking
Moorhead.
about?
Yeah,
What are we talking
but
about?
but see, that's the secret though. That's the Masonic secret. Like, but people don't understand why these popes do this and why they pay homage, because they want to keep the karma off of them. You know what I mean? And then you have a lot of these popes that already know the deal, that runs these corporations. You know what I mean? That stepped down on Obama and all of them and told them, hey, y'all got to stop this. What y'all doing? But they still trying to go and conduct, nefarious, corporational endeavors that is usurping the people's sovereignty and stealing from the people, um, putting them in all type of adhesion contracts, because that's the only way they can be able to really do something to you, is by putting you in an adhesion contract, and then you negotiating your rights away, by hiring you an attorney, which Boom Bar Association, which goes back to Dun and Bradstreet, which is all business. Okay,
All right,
everything
they got
everything is tied in.
European, well, pale featured Moorhead, Sicilian ceramics, but the features of the Moors is Asiatic. Like they got, I mean, the features of the pale people are Asiatic. They got like
Asiatic.
the nose ain't so alkaline. They got the thicker lips, high cheekbones type stuff. So I don't know what is happening here, but when you go to the original ones, and look
Uh
at this,
huh. Hmm.
tie this into it, tie this into it.
Right.
Seeing that, what y'all think that is? When you see Kali Ma, and she the
Yeah,
third
that's
one,
that's
same,
Krishna then. It's
the same
Krishna.
thing.
Same thing. That's just like every when you go to every nationality, you go look into their deities, right? You're gonna see a rendition of the Moorish customs as far as deities in there. You know what I mean? Just like when you look at Jesus' character, when you go look at the Krishna character, you look at all the deities on the walls of temple, Hasu, Aset, you know, Akhenaten, you know what I mean? All that that's all going back into Moorish histories and customs and religions. Then we have to do the hit research. You know what I mean? And then we have to be more in like I say, more intuitive to our stuff. You know what I mean? We don't mess with our stuff. What we do? Oh, that's the devil. You know what I mean? Because we have been we've been programmed, you know what I mean? And then we let these Jews say what we say is pseudo and all that when they in actuality they're the pseudo ones. They're the ones that are false, you
More,
know.
look at this. Look at this. So,
Hmm.
look, founded in the 1920s. The Union Corse. The
Yeah, the
Union
unit.
Corse is the Corsican mafia crime
Yeah,
organization operating primarily out of Corsica, Marseilles, France. Members of the
right.
organization, along with other crime families, maintain the French
French
connection.
connection. Which
Heroin trade
look,
monopoly between the French and
look.
United States people.
Yeah, and see, look, French connection goes back to the treaties. You see what I'm saying with Morocco and France, right? And then you had the United States treaties with Morocco, and so all of that's in connection. You know what I mean? Then look, you got the heroin trade. Look at that. Go back there. It says
Yeah.
heroin trade. It says
Yep.
heroin trade.
And look at the symbol of the Union Corsaires, the mafia.
Look at there.
See? Then when I say they praying to these Moors' heads, you think it's a game until you see
And
it in the
then look,
mafia.
it says right here the symbol of the union, right? Corsi, course is the same as the symbol for, wait a minute, Corsica, the Mari or Moor's head, a depiction of a black human, right? Head with a rag tied around the forehead on a white field. A member of this society may wear it as a pendant or a watch fob. Okay. Okay. Now let's look up fob right quick. Hold up. Let's
Yeah,
see what
please.
let's look up
Yeah,
fob.
that's a, I was about to
Yeah,
say, like, what the hell is a what is that?
or fob. Let's look that up.
'Cause I don't
Etymology
even
of
want to guess what it is because these people are crazy. A watch.
yeah, yeah. We're gonna look at the etymology of fob right quick. The etymology of fob, FOB, fob.
A chain or ribbon attached to a pocket watch.
Okay, it says fob origin. Um, it says German. Fupi pocket top, mid 17th century, denoting a fob is a pocket in a watch in a waistband. Origin uncertain,
Vest?
probably related. Look, probably related to German dialect. You know what I mean? Folk pocket. Then it says for origin and meaning of fob by online etymology dictionary. It says 1650s men's small waist pocket for valuables of uncertain origin, probably related to Low German fold pocket, High German fold pocket. Okay, so it's a dial a dial to
So they wear the joint on some shit like this.
yeah, yeah. It's like a little pocket, like you put your little watch in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they member is this a member of society aware is dependent on a watch pop. So the more
Yep. It says.
and look,
Yep.
keep on
It's
going more. We're gonna see why. We're
yeah.
gonna
It
see
says
what was the why. Moors, why the spirit led the Moors to actually go to war with the Vietnamese. Keep reading.
Okay, so now it says get involved in the drug trade in South, right? In South East Asia in the 1930s, and by the 1940s was heavily involved in 1954 after the French retreat from in Dochina. Of
Indochina.
course, yeah. Um, Corsican mobsters flew drugs from Laos into South Vietnam by plane. The operations were collectively known as Air Opium. Between the 1930s and 1970s, they smuggled heroin refined in Marseilles to New York. The Union, of course, involvement in the heroin trade was what became,
Oh, my fault, more thing. Right.
yeah, it said, and heroin, okay, hold up. Drugs of Latin into South Vietnam. Okay, Indochina, Corsican mobsters flew drugs from Laos into South Vietnam by plane. The operations were collectively known as Air Opium. Between the 1930s and 1970s, they smuggled heroin refined in Marcellus to New York, and New York, the Union. Of course, involvement in the heroin trade was what became known as the infamous French Connection. Ultimately, international cooperation, right, between law enforcement agencies dismantled the operation. So that's when we was looking at the Godfather of Harlem. That's when they
Right.
had the European, modern European French guy with the Maori guy from French. See what
Right.
I'm saying?
And
That's
remember
what people.
the movie, what's that genre? American Gangster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Frank Lucas crap.
Frank Lucas friend, yeah. Because that's what people gotta get too, because once the Italians had teamed up with Bumpy, you know what I mean, that's when major flow of the heroin trade was going in like that too, because they had a connection through all the states. So they had to pump it, you know what I mean, through our people. You see what I'm saying? To get it through. That's why the whole big deal about Bumpy working with the Italians, you know what I mean, was a big deal. You know what I mean? Because they was really trying to take over what was going on in between the streets as far as keeping the money flowing in what communities. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it was all jumping off and, you know, really all about is the protection and the wealth. You know what I mean? Who's going to get the most wealth and who's going to be able to hold a political position within that wealth? You see what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of things was going on in the streets, as far as like when we remember back in the days when these Europeans first came out of slavery and the expeditions of alcohol, you know what I mean, and bootlegging, you know what I mean? So that's when they had um Nicky Barnes and all that stuff, you know what I mean, before that, back then when they first just started out doing certain things. They was killing a lot of people and robbing a lot of people. So who they was killing and robbing in these movies?
Or look at this, John. Look at this.
See what how history was explained to us is all wrong. More like they're trying to show like Moors was like the Europeans was robbing from like the modern Europeans were robbing for Europeans when in actuality they were robbing for Moors. The Moors were the ones who were running stuff there. You see what I'm saying?
More, look at this.
Yeah,
The Camorra. The Camorra is an Italian mafia type criminal organization or secret society.
yeah. But look what it's called, Camorra.
That's what I'm saying. Originating in the region of Champania or Campania, is one of the oldest and largest criminal organizations in Italy, dating to
Okay,
the
and
17th
that's and that
century.
goes back to Abyssinia, right? Which is
Yeah.
Ethiopia, right? which is the connection between Abyssinian and Italians, which is the connection between Moors, Sicily, and
They,
all that.
they had clans. Every
Mm-hmm.
capo or boss was the head of a clan. They had different clans, unlike the pyramidal structure of the Sicilian mafia, the Cosa
Mm-hmm.
Nostra, right?
Yep.
These
That's
Camorras, they had a little different thing.
yep. That's why
Why
they had
the mafia is
syndicates and
named
stuff
after
like that.
our people?
Huh?
Why the mafia is named after our people?
Because we
And the
are
old
the we they are part of our lineage. You see what I'm saying? Like people don't understand. Like Moors have really have bloodline connection with some modern Europeans too. Like, and a lot of them don't understand that most of their blood come from us. Just like they might not have as dark as melanin that we have, but they still have some sort of carbon in them that keeps them functionable, that operates their hearts, their lungs, um, you know what I mean, their eyesight, everything. So even though, you know what I mean, they might not have the same carbon that they have in the skin of us, but they still have carbon to function. That's just like when we have Moors that's carbon deficient, like albinos. You see what I'm saying? But they still have woolly hair, you know what I mean? But they just still have the same skin as the modern European, you know. And that's what we was calling, that was calling like incest blood mixing, right? When they was mixing the blood and incest. So, um it's a
They show you
we
right here. The Camorra
yeah,
operated in the United States. The group are looking like what it looks like police officer or would he bellhops or something. Oh,
yeah,
it was
because
no, it was a bellhop. This the members they have numbered is the ones that was in it. So
look at them
primarily
though.
in New York, between the mid 19th century and the early 20th century, they rivaled the now defunct Morello crime family
Crime
and
family.
other
Morello.
Morello, right, crime family. Powerful in New York City. Eventually, they meddled in with Italian American mafia groups. So all the people we know about, all the new mafia, all the Moor, Camorra, and the Morello, they all, you know. So
So those are the people that took form, you know what I mean, like the Italian mob and all of them, they all took on, you know what I mean, bloodline lineage and bloodline rights because they was claiming to be Moors too up under certain organizations. You see what I'm saying? And syndicates. So that's why the European is still operating as him, as he being a American. You see? And which we know he's the immigrant and a foreigner. So that's why people got to get this and got to know about your nationality, because once you know about your nationality and birthright, you'll know about the other people's nationality and birth, you know. So that really, you know what I mean, Camorra Organizada, the organization was named um the the Pogolese, Camorra, yeah, we're looking at the Camorra Society, right?
it's
Fogolina.
Diana, yeah.
Yeah, Fogolina, right. In September 2019, the Italian police dismantled an international drug trafficking alliance between the powerful, what?
Diana.
Glontan clan of the Carmala, the Societa Fongiana, also known as the Fifth Mafia, and Moroccan drug traffickers. Wait a minute.
Oops.
Wait a minute.
2019,
Two thousand.
2016. So
Yeah.
y'all let these people play this. The blacks ain't the mob, the Moors no more. No, now the new Moroccans and all this stuff. It get to be drug traffickers,
Mm-hmm.
Camorra mafia members.
Mm-hmm. And then look, it says, and then it got also known as the Fifth Mafia and Moroccan drug traffickers. The investigation started in 2016 against a Maghreb gang based in the region of Trentino Alto Adige. The vast network of drug traffickers extended from Morocco, passing through Spain, Switzerland, and the Netherlands, to finally arrive in Trentino and Bolzano. Arriving in Italy, the drugs were sold in parks, historic centers, and near schools by mainly Tunisian and Moroccan pushers. 19 people were arrested. Four are still being wanted in Italy, Spain, and in the Netherlands, and 73 are under investigation. In the operation were seized over 1 ton of hashish and 2 kilograms of cocaine. The Camorra South American drug cartels.
Where they get the cocaine and hashish from? Let's get it.
Yeah, the links between the South American drug cartels and the Camorra clans dates back to at least the 1980s. Stabilized numerous privileged drug channels from South America to Europe over the years. According to the investigation, the Camorra member Tor Tormasio La Camino allegedly negotiated with the head of Peruvian and Colombian drug cartels over the cocaine trade.
The straight
Gillespie Galileo,
lines and shit.
yeah, called Old Paz the crazy one, boss of the Linea Van Gogh clan, is said to having contacts with Colombian drug traffickers able to reach agreements for the purchase of large quantities of cocaine, supplying various clans in the Naples area. In
Boom, more, boom,
2016, yeah,
boom,
yeah,
boom.
that's in the Naples area. So that was right in 2016. See what
Yep.
I'm saying? So this is the Moroccan kingdom we talking about right here.
Fucking around with large kilograms of cocaine, messing around with them cartel members in South America.
Yeah, and hashish and
While
all this,
we
that, and
tell
the
people,
third.
no, we gotta be Moors and return.
But they having a war on drugs on Moors though. Now let's think
Yo,
about
bro, these people.
let's let's think about this though.
What?
Let's think about this though. You have the war on drugs. Now you got all these people bringing it in here, right?
They got the war on drugs. We just that just shook that draw right there.
You see what I'm saying?
Damn, Moor.
Now
No,
who's
let me
funding
get this
that?
one.
Who's putting the charge on that war on drugs operation? It was Clinton. It was the Clintons. It was the Bushes, and it was the Reagans. Okay, so Reagans, Bush, Clintons, all right, all on the war on drugs. Okay, because they stand to make what, billions and trillions of dollars on it, and at the same time, you made all these privatized prisons straight from the schools, which is not teaching our children any damn thing. They're not giving them no trades anymore. You know, where's the trades at? Where's the cooking classes and the trade classes and teaching our children how to be self-sufficient and independent, and the electricians and jobs like that. What happens to those?
Watch this, Moor. Wait, before we get this all crazy, watch this.
Mm-hmm.
It's about to get so crazy. After 50 years of the war on drugs, what good is it doing for us? 7 minutes. The war on drugs, the Brownsville neighborhood in New York City saw some of the highest rates of incarceration from these people doing the heroin, the air heroin, air opium.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, we got books. Okay, the same thing in the 30s when they put it in our neighborhood.
Yeah, it was a I forgot his name. This modern European. They assassinated him. He was part of the FBI. He came out in the 90s and he told on the FBI for the war on drugs, that it was all targeted in so-called black people. You know what I mean? And that it was all full of corruption with the FBI involved pushing the drugs too. You see
Bro,
what
I
I'm
don't want
saying?
no damn apology. I don't want no darn apology. I
Mm-hmm.
need easy free licenses for my people. If y'all want to play the license game for these for the celery. No, I don't even need a license for my people. Don't bother us. I don't need no apology. Keep the apology. It seems like anything you get from these people anymore comes with all this attachments to it. and what do
Yeah.
we call them? Riders and damn lounges and crap.
And
Okay.
Black Lives Matter activists, which is
Go ahead, dog. That's
really
all.
nothing but a bunch of shit that's tearing down our property in our own communities, and that's funded by Soros. You see what I'm saying? To destroy the so-called black communities too. Like, people got to understand what is all happening and what is all taking place. As far as I'm gonna put you against this modern European, which has no power, that we look at every day, and we have prejudice. We have a prejudice going on because of what these people that's in power already set up for it to be. Now, you'll have a prejudice against me, but you still in a dirty house, a broken down truck. You see what I'm saying? You piss poor. You know what I mean? You can't educate yourself properly. You can't educate your children properly, but you mad at me still because I'm a so-called black man. You know what I mean? And you white, so you long as you that you ain't you know long as you can call me a nigga, you happy, right? Our people are so damn stupid. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't understand that we're being duped. There's no such thing as black and white. That's a chessboard, and we are the pawns. You see what I'm saying? So what people got to get is get up out of the prejudice stuff and look at something that's gonna benefit yourself, your family, and your neighbor too. You know what I mean? Because once we understand and have the knowledge to, cultivate and take care of ourselves, then we don't really need anybody to take care of ourselves, take care of us for us.
Watch
And
this, Moore. Whereas many scholars, this is from the Resolution 747
hmm
from the 116th Congress, December 6th, 2019, acknowledging the war on drugs has been a failed policy in achieving the goal of reducing drug use, and for the House of Representatives to apologize to the individuals and communities that were victimized by this policy. We already know who they're talking about, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
they go through the whole history of Harry J. Anslinger and how he created this whole war against marijuana because the people who was using the marijuana mostly were who they say.
Well, indigenous aboriginal so-called black people, we
They
the
said the
Moors.
Mexican American community.
Yeah. See, look at
Hey,
that.
color all day. They like they can't even say it or who they really did it to. Oh, here, go right here. They lowercase. they whereas the war on drugs was admitted to move by the Nixon administration to attack his political opponents. Who was that? Kennedy. Okay. In
hmm
1994, Richard Nixon's aide, John Ehrlichman, admitted in an interview that the war on drugs was a tool to arrest and manipulate blacks and liberals, stating, "We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war on black, but but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities with
Mm.
hippies and blacks. So that included
Yep.
Europeans. We
Yep.
could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on evening news. Come on, more they do the same thing.
Okay,
They
more
would,
now. Let me interject this too. While
you
I
know, they
want
were
you to.
lying about the drugs. Of course we did.
Yeah,
We looked at the
yeah,
and it was lying about all that. So
yeah,
wow,
and I wanted to
that
interject
news
this too.
all. Get this damn on. I need this on. I need this on. I need this on. Seal. I need a seal
Yeah,
copy.
I need you to. Okay, now you said the hippies and the so-called blacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, around that time too, there were people killing hippie women. That was out there. What his name was, Son of Sam,
Yeah, that
and
was all government and
and and all these people. Those were agents.
yep.
Those are the breakup, the unity between
Charles
so-called
Manson and
black
all
people
them.
and hippies to keep
Yep.
them from coming out to be politically inclined to change things in America. So they have to bring in these serial killers, these serial rapists, these murderers, just like um the things that's going on now with the human
Oh,
trafficking
you
and stuff
actually
like that,
do say
which
this,
they
bro. I
took,
was gonna need
which
nothing.
they
What this shit say? Like
yeah,
the
which they
hell?
took it up a notch. You know what I mean? So we just tying all this in more so while people can look at it from a perspective of what's really going on and why certain things was happening. You know what I mean? To stagnate the movement, to stop us from really gaining our own rights back. You see what I'm saying? And self governance. You know what I mean? And to
Look,
really have real equality here in this land. You see
this
what
is
I'm
how they
saying?
feel about crack cocaine. This is how the Europeans feel about crack cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
In his writing, these Democrats that was in power at the time. Oh no, this was under Trump's administration. This is
Okay.
how look why under his administration is they revealing these truths in that apology. But forget the apology. Read the ingredients in this apology. Whereas in the 1986, the 99th Congress increased the sentences for dealing and possessing crack cocaine, and in a few years, enhanced law enforcement presence loomed over and aggressively policed communities of color. Do you know that
Mm.
we lived through that more? We was born. Some of us was born into that.
Yeah, right
I know
into that.
I felt it. I
Yeah,
definitely felt it.
of course, because that's the time when they started putting out these indoctrinated movies like heavily, like Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society. Um, what was the other one? Deuce. Um,
Oh,
what is the other movie they put out? Um, around these times, to get our youth to start killing each other. And this was like heavily, 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 heavily pumped. Just like they heavily, heavily pump you being from Africa and they brought you here on slave boats. You see what I'm saying? All of this is pumped into our psyche as a people to keep us conditioned into into a state of ignorance. You know
bro,
what I mean?
man, I swear I need to get this understood because like whereas to this day these laws greatly target communities of color, dramatically increasing the incarceration rate of these communities and imposing a stigma that people of color are the main users of drugs, despite white Americans can use can Americans using drugs at a similar rate, if not greater rate. We know it's greater.
Yeah, it's greater, right?
What's that joint? Vermont alone is greater.
Right.
They
Because
got a population of 97% Europeans and then like 3% or so others, right? The
hmm
European rate of heroin overdose is over 88%.
right. And not
Hmm.
just the heroin overdose, we got to look at the prescription pills too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's what they're not telling you neither. Like, the pharmaceutical
Here you go,
giants,
more. We right on it. We right on it. Health
yeah,
statistics suggested that there were more than 70,200 drug overdose deaths in 2017, and that a majority of these deaths come from synthetic opioids like fentanyl. Stop popping pills.
hmm
Stop pop.
and drinking syrup and lean and stuff, that's
Stop
killing you.
it. Killing
You need to
you.
you need to leave it alone.
The opioid crisis. That's what we in right
Yeah.
now, more.
And
Declared a
guess who's
national state of
and
emergency.
guess who's promoting all that stuff though? Our people, like they're getting our people to promote it to the youth. You know what I mean?
Look,
So
look. Many scholars, journalists, and civic leaders have addressed the strong contrast of the urgency of helping those impacted by opioids compared to those who were impacted by crack cocaine and other substances
hmm
during the war on drugs. Who was the black people were selling a lot of the crack to the Europeans,
yes.
but
And
they're not helping none of that like how it is now today, where we got all these young boys on opioids. They're not treating it like what do you call it, illness. They're treating it like a crime.
yeah.
Same exact thing they did with the marijuana.
Yeah. Instead of them giving you help, you know what I
Democrat.
mean, and putting you in a institution, so you can clean yourself up and take care of your children or whatever, they throwing you in prison for the rest of your life. But, in opposites, what I mean, when they're in that situation, they're getting treated and put in a facility.
Because
Well,
more
if it was in
that was
our
bad.
people, they're putting them in prison. You see what I'm saying? So
They talking about
it's
before, like when we was on some all the crack and doing all that stuff. That's when Europeans was popping all the pills, Quaaludes, getting all rich on the stock market and shit. Like movies like what's that, John? Wolf of Wall Street. They was
yeah,
high
Wolf
on
of
the
Wall
Quaaludes.
Street.
So
Yeah.
then we see now in today's time, well, so what? Look, whereas the terminology used to describe those impacted by opioid epidemic, like the Wolf of Wall Street, is victims, and the
Hmm.
terminology used to describe those impacted by the war on drugs, not even by any opioids or drugs, just the war on drugs. Those impacted by the war on drugs is criminals.
Hmm.
What a way to.
Because it's criminal anyway. But more, you got to think about it. We don't own no boat, no plane. We're not bringing this stuff in here. So if anybody is bringing it in here, you know what I mean, it's the United States government. Okay, they are the one who's bringing it in here, then they're declaring war on a neighborhood that they, because it's evidence. I was telling you about that European guy. I think his name was George something. He told on national TV that the United States CIA was pumping narcotics in the so-called black community, and they assassinated and killed them. Okay, so we already know that a lot of the stuff that's going on here in our lives, just the effect of our uncles, our aunties, mother, father, what I mean, being dragged and to prison. You see what I'm saying? Because of them trying to, make them some money to feed families or whatever, because they in an unfortunate situation or situation in that means. You see what I'm saying? Because when you looking at the situation from the whole point and scheme of it, is that yeah, they ain't gonna never be the ones that's gonna be their houses kicked in their door, and dragged in. You know what I mean? Taking a parent away from a home and crippling that home. You see what I'm saying? Instead of giving them some type of resources to try to help them get up out of the selling those drugs and furnish some type of job or some type of stability for our people. You know what I mean? But they say that they are a government. They say they're here to help you, but in actuality, they're here to hinder you, subjugate you, rob you, and tell you lies. So we're just gonna get into some more of this right now, more. So you can go ahead and take the floor.
It's Von Moore. So the whole thing basically about this, it also says that black and brown people have been criminalized for their trauma and addiction. So calling us criminals and booking us for drug usage instead of it's people that y'all people that is obviously sick.
Right.
So therefore we never change. We never get help mentally. We get just a loop. So 50 years, the war on drugs haven't achieved its goal. So Congress, House of Representatives finally resolved that. The war on drugs has failed to achieve its goal of reducing drug use, so it increased drugs. The war on drugs has created conditions in the United States that have allowed opioid epidemics to be as deadly as it is today. So the war on drugs has provided conditions in the so-called United States to have our people killing themselves of academics. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, opioids.
Opioids,
The,
right?
the war on drugs is uh, a racially charged policy. Let me say that
Mm-hmm.
again. The war on drugs is a racially charged policy that has
Right.
led to mass incarceration of millions of Americans, disproportionately affecting communities of color, has stagnated the communities as the cause of the drug problem, and has economically, politically, and socially crippled these communities for decades.
For decades. But
So
but 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 you want to come in and kick in our door and take our sons and daughters away, and they ain't the ones who's really putting the dope in the community. It's the ones that flying it in by the boat. Well, flying in by the plane and bringing it in by the boat, which is the United States corporation. Oh, okay. Which is the politicians that's our people are so called voting for. Oh, okay. All right. All right.
So they apologize, but all that stuff. If y'all know y'all did all that and y'all know it was against white people, any case that so-called people got that says that they're black and it has anything about some drug charge, Yeah, you need to have this document under seal because that needs to get all the way reversed.
Hmm.
So look at this guy. You remember Jordan Peele and Us and Get Out and all that? Look at what look at what Clinton asked him when he was a young boy.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, how can you help the families where there's a mom and she's taking care of a kid or kids, and the father isn't willing or isn't able to pay child support?
And you have about 30 seconds, Mr. President. If he's not willing, we can have much tougher child support enforcement.
Whoa,
I feel very strongly about it, and I've got a good program to strengthen it.
whoa.
Not
Whoa,
able.
pause that. Pause that right quick, more. Pause that. Pause that. Now he want to talk about child support. Now you got a son that's half Moorish and half
You
European
said
that you made,
that.
and you didn't even pay child support. You didn't even acknowledge him as your son, but you want to get up there on the camera and say that you believe in child support and all this, that, and the third. Fool, you's a
Oh,
liar.
oh my goodness! And this is the Jordan Peele guy. So this is he been on. This he ain't nobody new, bro. He been on. He was being
Yes.
trained then to be this
That,
actor, funny guy, and all that.
yeah. Jordan Peele. This is Jordan Peele now.
Yeah.
You know where you've been
Okay.
during the confirmation hearings for your new attorney general. That's right. Because she has quite a reputation in Florida on that particular subject. We could go on. You've been very gracious to say the extra hour. Did you enjoy yourself this morning? Was he good? Yeah, he was okay.
See. And guess what, Moore? This
Uh-huh.
is right around the time of that Hands Across America stuff.
Right. Which he
So Jordan
which
made
he
Jordan Peele made the Us movie.
yeah, which he already gave up. You see what I'm saying? See, that's why Bush played a major factor too. Bush, um, that's when Senior was out of office and Junior had took over, then Clinton, then here goes Obama after, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all they all in cahoots. They all set the play up for each one to come in to do what they did, you know what I mean, legislatively. You know what I mean? So just like you said, everything is all orchestrated, everything's all, seems like, is all done in good intentions and all this, that, and the third, and these people are here for us. But in actuality, they're not. Everything is all afforded to be actors that are duping the people. These politicians are actors too, you know. So we have to think about, they read from the prompter. They are commentators. They are people who have roles that they have to play. Okay. So in actuality, I can put forth a facade, right? And be the most dirtiest, the biggest asshole, excuse my language, out there. So
So
why
Clinton,
do I
this
why
is
do our people take the con or go for the con all the time? Or like, why?
so Clinton apologized to Mexico for the war on drugs 5 years before the Congress apologized to the black people and all that. So Clinton apologized, just not to the black people. He just apologized to Mexico. It's insane
Yeah, and
because he was
because
the
he
one
don't
down
want
at
to.
the border, bro.
Yeah, he was the one who opened
He's
up the
like the
border for
smugglers
that.
in the United States.
Yeah, he was the one who was in control of that. You see, what people don't get, you know what I mean? That's why the ritual of him getting some head from his secretary made it distract from what he was really doing in the office. And that was put a war on us and really keep us stagnant and messed up. Because you got to think about it. It was around that period when our people was getting ready to go into middle class. You see what I'm saying? So, but all of a sudden, middle class, our people didn't really see. Only certain individuals made it to middle class. So, you know, that's why people gotta understand, like, oh, I'm a part of America. Yeah, you American, but you're not a United States citizen. So that's when we have to clarify certain things. You know what I mean? So you can understand what afforded you your freedoms and what afforded you your birthrights, your nationality intact. You see what I'm saying, with your political standpoint and your political status. You see, which makes you who you are, heir to this said land, which is Al Morocco, Al Morocco.
Look,
Okay.
look, more, look, more. Look at this. Look at this.
Uh huh.
Donald Trump used Title 32, the U.S. Code Title 32, to make a proclamation for the federally funded troops to remain under state control, sent only at the determination of a participating state's governor. So he put it on the state's governors to, all right, if y'all want to send them down there to the border, then do it, but don't ask me anything because I'm building the wall. So
Yep.
he put it in the hands of these dirty governors. Bro, everything he did was put in the hands of the governors and let us see who was dirty.
Yep.
That's
And see
really
who and see and then once that conspired, we know who neck to chop off. And then they got President Barack Obama and George W. Bush both used Title 32 to direct National Guard forces in the southern border. In addition, the authority of Title 10 has for decades been used to federally fund military groups fighting what transnational gangs that
the
attempt
mafia.
to cross U.S. borders, according to a 2012 Government Accountability Office report. Okay, but if they crossing these borders, who's in control of the borders? I'm just gonna throw that out there. Who's in
Oh my God, they
control
get away. More look.
of the border?
If he was deploying these military governors to the military people to the border, Bill Clinton and all that, right?
Hmm.
But the war on drugs increased and it didn't stop the drugs from coming in. It failed.
It failed.
So you
So
can
in
now
actual,
we know what he was doing down there,
yeah, in
continuing to continue in
actuality,
his
you
drugs.
was open the floodgates up. That's in actuality, you were the one who was the one doing all of the willing and dealing. Okay, that's why it failed. But you put it in the community, and then you came and you know arrested people after they stacked so much money. You know what I mean? For instance, just like the um the Larry Davis story. You remember that more?
Larry Davis,
Yeah,
yeah,
that bull right there. You know what I mean? He was selling drugs for the policy enforcers in New York. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying? And he did a couple of murders or whatever. Then he found out that he was really working for the police.
right,
See what I'm saying?
crazy shit,
And they came to his house to murder him, with a warrant or whatever. And he peeped what was going on and got the ups on them and shot them and got away.
right.
It's the same thing, more like
Remind me of
same.
Sam Christian or Suleiman Bey going against like all the drug dealers and then the policy enforcement and all them attacked them
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they was going in on these Moors for selling drugs to our own people and all that. Like they was chopping people's heads off. It was getting real because y'all not going to do
Hmm.
that here. Well, I guess
Right.
since we failed
And
to complete the mission, look what happened. They
yeah, because
apologized to us for the war on drugs. Got Clinton apologizing to goddamn Mexicans for the war on drugs. Didn't change a
because
damn
he started it. Because he started it. He did
thing.
negotiations. He did negotiations to, bring that shit in here. You see what I'm saying? Because we got to think around that time, um, when Clinton took office, right? 9/11 had what had went down. You see what I'm saying? The World Trade buildings. You know what I mean? Which that was an inside job. They blew that up. You know what I mean? So, it's just a lot of things that our leaders, you see what I'm saying, did that has to be accounted for. You know what I mean? They did a lot of nefarious acts, you know what I
Clearly,
mean, through the guise of them helping the American people. You see. That's
bro, bro, look, it. I got two last videos, and then I'm done after this. But I want
Okay.
to play Clinton giving his whole what he was doing at this border, and I want to play that video that we didn't get to play last time with that other guy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Don't even call it. Just do it more. Just play it.
Not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country.
They didn't attack him like they attacked Trump, right?
Right, right.
Bastard.
But see, we know this is a lie, though. You know what I mean? Like this is something that always been, negotiated with them because they are the real immigrants. You see what I'm saying? Like 99,000 immigrants are modern European
Look,
credence.
he talking about the border guards. Like,
Yeah.
look the way he say, watch that.
By hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace, as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan.
Now, more the new people, they just opened up to where all the people who had caught crimes for doing stuff at the border, they got all their crimes waived.
Yeah.
But these new people. But so see what that was all about.
Yeah.
Now let's look at who these people love so much. Watch that.
Clearly indicates that there was intent. The court found the plan with unerring precision slices through the city's traditional subunit, the ward in a racially selective manner, leaving intact predominantly white wards while carving up those densely populated by black. As to the governor, the court concludes, quote, the governor's opposition to the Nunes plan was predicated in significant part on his delineation of a majority black district centered in Orleans Parish. In a confidential portion of your staff memo, they brought to your attention the allegation that important legislators in defeating the Nunes plan in the basement said, quote, we already have a nigger mayor, we don't need any more nigger big shots. And the court cited evidence of discriminatory part of other legislators, including the representative who testified at the court hearing, that there were legislators, quote, who don't feel they want to.
You heard what he said? We don't need another nigger big shot.
Why did he read that? Why did you say that? Why you didn't blanket dude?
But these are the people you vote for. Y'all break your neck and go down here and cast your little vote on these damn, man, I tell you, boy. Wow. Look at there, more. Like they gotta get it. They gotta know what's going on. Like these people are playing games like behind your back. You know what I mean? But they tell you, oh, we're gonna give this to you, we're gonna give that for you, we're gonna do this for you. You vote for me, we're gonna make sure this happens. But then in actuality, none of that shit happens.
Crazy, Moor. Crazy.
It's real crazy, more. Like it gets real sickening sometimes. Like when you think about it, you be like, wow, these people are playing games like that. But yeah, they are.
Yep. But more, we got 3:33, about to get to 3:33 at 32 seconds. So
Yeah.
might as well just stop it at that. They got enough to go back and study over.
Yeah, more. So we're just gonna go ahead and give the people enough of what we came to give them, and that is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I want to close out with that. I'm Menelik Al-Rahim Brown L with my brother Kasir Effie Raj L. You know, we come in peace, Moors, but we are warlike. That's why we study the prophet's lessons. And we are upright, pure, and clean because of our prophets. And I want to give honors to Sharif Abdul Ali. And I want to give honors to all Moors worldwide. And I want to give honors to Kenaland Moors. Y'all already know what the deal is, and all the master teachers that are faithful to this movement, this Moorish divine national movement. And I want to say Islam to all you guys out there. And peace.
Islam Morris, peace and love. Go to that RB Bay publication, and when you finish, if you can manage to even get close to a finish of anything, you gotta check out that obashangoel.com. Toriano Obashangoel. He got some stuff going on. Y'all need to check him out.
Yeah, check that bull out right there. That sheik right there. He know what he's talking about too. I want to give honors and say peace to that more in Islam.
Peace and love, Morris.